there, Nancy Drew Clue Crew! Argleflump here, trying to reach the first death in Nancy Drew Secrets Can Kill Remastered. How quickly can you reach the first death? Very quickly, as it turns out. About 13 seconds. That's how long it takes. So, starting from when I hit Senior Detective, I just click to skip the opening scene. I scroll to the right, I rush to max scenes, and I go over here, I grab the bolt cutters, and then leave through the door, causing an explosion. Yeah, it's the first game, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's not that tough. All you have to do is rush to max scenes and steal those bolt cutters. And here's a version of the video with a timer, so you can see I'm not lying when I say it takes 13 seconds. Thanks for watching, everybody, and stay tuned as I do the same thing with the other Nancy Drew games. See how long it takes me to reach the first death.
Hi,
hey there,
I'm
Nancy Drew Clue
This is
Crew. I'm Argleflump. In this video, I will try to lose Nancy Drew Secrets Can Kill Remastered. How long does it take to get to the first game over scene? Not long at all, actually. It takes about 17 seconds.
Help?
In the original game, it takes about 13 seconds to get to a game over scene. Why does this one take longer? Well, there are two different deaths. In the original, the fastest way to die is to blow up Maxine's. But in this version of the game, we have Detective Beach as a character, and he calls Nancy if she tries to leave Aunt Eloise's house. And that conversation takes a while, so that is no longer the fastest death. In this version, the fastest death is now breaking into Aunt Eloise's safe. That causes this cage to fall from the ceiling and destroy Nancy. So basically what I do is I start the game, I click in the upper right hand corner to skip the opening scene, I go to the safe and I enter 3 incorrect combinations. Each combination needs to be 6 different buttons long, so it's basically just pressing buttons as quickly as possible. I messed up there on the kappa there, I kind of missed it, see, my mouse went over it, I tried to click but I didn't, oh! So that was a mistake, but this is still my fastest time. I decided to leave the video as it is instead of replaying this game about 50 times in hopes of getting a slightly faster time. Thank you for watching this video. I am going to be doing death percent runs for all of the Nancy Drew games this year, so make sure to subscribe, click the notification bell, and check out the rest of the videos where I try to zoom to the first death scene in every Nancy Drew game. So a couple things happened really quick at the start. Stay tuned for danger. I moved my mouse here and triple click, then I move my mouse here and triple click again to get to the first conversation with Maddie. Sorry, I had to explain that because it happens really quickly at the start of the video. I didn't even give myself time to do an introduction. Hi there, Nancy Drew Clue Crew. I'm Argleflump. This is a death percent run of Nancy Drew Stay Tuned for Danger. Meaning, I'm going to reach the first death of the game as quickly as possible. So, it takes, how many minutes? 3 or 4 minutes to reach the first death of the game? Pretty interesting, because, with Secrets Can Kill, and Secrets Can Kill Remastered, you get to the end of that game in less than 20 seconds. This one, you're gonna be sticking around for several minutes. So the first major segment was what you saw at the start of the video, which is just getting to Maddie, and it's like you triple click in the right spot, then move your mouse, triple click in the right spot again. That gives you this conversation with Maddie. So it goes on for like about a minute. The way to get through the conversation is to select option 2, and then option 1 every single time after that. So you might have noticed that you can't actually hear Maddie or Nancy talking in this game. She did say, come on in, the door's open, and she's gonna say that again, not too long from now. But other than that, they don't talk. You just go to the options menu and turn off the voices. So why did I do that? That's because this ending has a little scene where Nancy talks to her friend Bess on the phone about Nancy getting kicked off the case. Oh, and this is...
Where can I take you today, miss?
1999 Broadway, please.
This is another point where characters talk, the taxi people talk. And this is another place where I'm actually playing the game. I have to be quickly when moving my mouse around. I need to rush directly to Maddie's studio room here.
It's open.
And I was fast enough there that I cut off Maddie from fully saying, "It's open!" With this conversation, you select option 2 and then option 1 over and over and over again until it's done, just like the first conversation. So Nancy and Bess talk after Nancy gets caught. They talk about Nancy being kicked off the case. By turning off the voices, that entire scene gets skipped. You don't even see it. It like flashes on screen for less than a second. So it is faster to play this game without the voices on. There is also a glitch that you can use. The phone in Maddie's apartment, if you dial 555-JAKE, on that phone, it will warp you directly to Lillian's office. That lets you skip that first conversation with Maddie. I don't do that in this video. This is actually a glitchless death percent run. And then this is pretty much the end. I grab the key card and I use it to open up this door.
Something to make this
And then
work.
we have this amazing cutscene.
Yes, Miss Weiss, we're clear to shoot.
Have we blocked this already?
Yes, I think.
Quiet on the set.
Is the floor ready?
Check.
Audio.
Check.
Roll tape.
Stand by, camera 1.
Standby music.
Take camera 1.
Rory, I have to talk to you.
I don't want to see you, Serena.
No, Rory, don't go. I love you.
I don't want to see you, Serena.
Sheesh! What was that? I could have been killed! Get my agent on the phone, now!
I'm so glad we got to hear that conversation. Anyway, what you do is, you watch that scene. That's the first time you're allowed inside the studio. That way you can pull the fire alarm and bring that death scene. So, it takes a little under 4 minutes to reach the first death in Nancy Drew. Stay tuned for danger. And hey, stay tuned to my channel because I'm going to do death runs for all of the Nancy Drew games this year. Hey there, Nancy Drew Clue Crew!
Hi, it's Nancy
Argle Fump
Drew.
here, showing how quickly it takes to lose Nancy Drew Message in a Haunted Mansion. It takes about 15 seconds. What you do is you click in the upper right hand corner to skip the opening cutscene. You rush over to the chandelier and click it 3 times to destroy the chandelier. That gives you a second chance scene. I turned off the
Hi,
character
it's Nancy
voices.
Drew.
Normally there's a scene where Bess and George criticize Nancy after the chandelier drops. By turning off the character voices, we skip that scene. It only appears on screen for less than a second.
Whoops.
And I think that's all I have to say. This is a very simple game to lose. Thank you for watching. I am making death percent videos for all of the games in the Nancy Drew series this year. So try not to get hit by a chandelier so you can watch those videos when they're posted. Hey there, Nancy Drew
Hi there,
Clue
it's
Crew.
me.
Here's
Here's
the
the
fastest
mail.
way
Need
to
is a
lose
mailbox.
Nancy Drew number 4. First you want to grab your room key because that allows you to leave the room. Then you're going to set your alarm clock to 6 o'clock. That gets rid of Dexter. He will not be at the front desk. Moving around in this game is kind of tough. I struggle with the navigation, like going downstairs quickly. I'm not very good at that. I'm not good at moving around quickly in this game. Sorry. So you grab the key from Dexter's desk because Dexter's not there, so you can grab it. It's the key to the library. You're going to go into the library. Again, I'm struggling with navigation. I'm struggling to move quickly through this game. Just something about this game is really hard for me to move around.
Look who
You go into the library, you go forward 4 times, and that's the end of the game. You also have a brief scene where Nancy and Ned talk, so I turned off the character voices in order to skip that scene, which plays after Dexter catches you. Bye! Hey there, Nancy Drew Clue Crew. Argle Fump here,
Nancy,
showing
here I
off
go.
the fastest way to
Cross your
die
fingers,
in
there's a story
Nancy
behind the
Drew, the
store.
final
Go
scene.
get 'em, Scoop.
It's
Teach
very
him a lot.
straightforward. You click in the upper right-hand corner to skip the opening scene. You wait for the scene with Maya to be
Think I'll go
finished.
check out the snacks.
Then you run to the balcony.
That sounds like Maya. Help! Nancy!
So it's like 25 seconds in before you get to do something in this game. And that takes up about half of this video. So you rush to the balcony. I imagine you can get to the balcony a little faster than I did. You need to click here twice,
Quite
and
reach.
Nancy will fall over and die, bringing an end to the game. So it takes 48 seconds. Takes about 48 seconds to get to the first death in the final scene. Thanks for watching my video. I'm gonna go get some snacks now. Hey there, Nancy Drew Clue crew.
Welcome to
I'm
the
Argle
latest
Fump.
update.
In this video,
Nancy
I'll
Drew,
show
I
how
presume?
quickly you
I'm
can
Joanna
reach the
Riggs.
first death
Welcome to
of
Beach
the
Hill.
6th Nancy Drew game.
I'm
That's what
just
it
checking the
means
lock on this
when I
display
say
case.
it's a
This
death
is one of the
percent
museum's
run.
most
I'm trying to
treasured
get to the
pieces,
first
a
death.
carving of King Pakal.
Not sure why it's called a
Who is
death
King
percent run. I'm
Pakal
not sure where
assumed the throne at
percent
age
comes into
12.
play,
Can you
but
imagine?
whatever.
That was 615 AD. He
As
ruled
you can
for
see,
68
it takes
years
about
at the
8
height of
minutes
the
to
Maya
get to the
civilization.
first death
Is
of the
that
game.
jade? Yes, the Maya love jade.
Most of it
and used
is
for
going to
many
be
of
the
their
maze
carvings.
and bull. Those are the tricky
There isn't
ones.
another piece like
The
this
first
in the
like
world,
2 minutes or
and it's
so
priceless,
are
which means
going
I
to be the
practically had to
opening
sell my own
conversation with
grandmother to get
Joanna.
it. How did the museum
So I clicked in the
acquire
upper
it?
right hand corner to skip
Leave
the
it to Taylor
opening
St.
letter,
Clair.
but we
He's
still
a
have to
wizard
sit
when
through
it
this
comes to these
minute-long
deals. You'll meet
conversation,
him later.
followed by
Now
a
then,
minute-long
Nancy,
conversation.
You're coming on board at a critical time for Beach Hill. An exhibit of this
So
caliber
there's
is not
many
cheap
ways
stuff.
through this
Franklin
opening
Rose assures me you're a
conversation.
real trooper,
There's like
and I hope
5
he's
or
right,
so
because
different
I'm not here to
things
babysit.
that Joanna
I don't
has
care
to
who
talk
your
to you
father is.
about.
If
She
there's
has
anything
to
I've learned
mention
from my father,
Henrik
it's the
and
value
Taylor
of
and all the
hard
other
work.
characters. She
Just
has
tell
to
me where
mention
to
the
start.
monolith.
There's a list of
She has
tasks
to
for
mention
you in the lab.
glyphs.
Once you've knocked
Well, the
those off,
fastest way
we'll
through the
regroup.
conversation
Where's the
is
rest
to
of the
select
staff
option
around here?
2,
We've had
option
to
1,
make
option
some,
1,
budget
then option
cutbacks, so we'll be
3, then
relying
option
heavily
1,
on
and
our
option
volunteer
1.
staff. Namely,
I
you.
feel like this one
Besides
piece of
Henrik and
dialogue
me,
here
the
is
only
strange.
people
When
who'll
Nancy
be
says
around to pester
Alejandro
you are
del
Taylor
Rio,
St. Clair,
she
my
says it in a
art
strange
dealer,
way, so I'll be
and
quiet so you can
Alejandro
hear
del
that.
Rio, attaché to the Mexican consulate and executive thorn in my side.
Tell me more about Alejandro del Rio.
Ugh, wouldn't you
Yeah,
rather hear
that
about
sounds
the
funny to
monolith?
me. It's
a
like they took
massive
a
pillar of
completely
stone,
different
nearly
voice clip of
1,500
Nancy
years
saying
old, with
Alejandro
Maya
del Rio
glyphs carved
and
into
added it
We
to the
installed it in the
sentence.
garden. Wait until you see it.
Alright, so here
What
you
purpose did the
select
monolith
option
serve?
number 3,
According
and
to
then you
Henrik,
select the
the
first
monolith
option
was made at the
twice.
special request of King Pakal himself, but we don't know what its
With the
purpose
final
was.
conversation option, you want to
Henrik
select the
Vanderhoof,
first one,
world-renowned
because if you
expert
select the
in
second
Maya
one,
hieroglyphics.
Joanna
He's
says
the latest
Semper
addition to
Ubi
the
Sub
Beach Hill
Ubi,
Brain Trust.
but if you
I
select the
told him
first
I really
one, she
wanna
says
see
bye.
his pointy
And obviously it's
Vanderhead
faster
till
to
he's
just
got
have
a
her say
translation on that
bye.
monolith.
Thanks for the orientation, Joanna. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Yeah, see, that's a lot faster than having her say Semper Ubi Sub Ubi. Okay, so once you've got those conversations out of the way, you start the game for real, you run over here, you're going to grab the card so you can solve the temple games. You're going to rush over here, you're going to use the
I should
card,
put in my temple key card.
and I'm kind of slow on this, but really it doesn't matter. The really fast thing is the maze and bull. Those are going to be the longest things because they're random. There's a couple different mazes you can do, and bull is just difficult. Well, check out my first 3 rounds of bull because they are amazing. Yeah, this is going to be really good here. Victory! Victory! Yeah, fast victory. And again. Woo! Almost as fast as possible, I'd say. That's really good. And there's really no way to control it. It's all just random. It's just luck. You have to get lucky. So, I wish I could have been that lucky on the next round of bull. This one goes on for quite some time. So, darn. I still got a fast speed on this little death percent run because I was lucky on the first 3 rounds. But, oh, man, this round, look, I passed the other character twice. Yikes. Of course, if I had been even more unlucky, the other character would have captured me. Oh no, I passed it 3 times! Oh dear! So even though I had some terrible luck here on the final round of bull... Oh no, not again! It still ended up being my fastest attempt at doing this video. I did it like 6 or so times, because it takes about 10 minutes. It takes about 10 minutes. And so that's about an hour, and I didn't want to do, like, more than an hour. So, even if I make a mistake like that, a navigation mistake, like I accidentally flipped upside down, it doesn't matter because I beat Bull so quickly. So this is pretty simple. I just type in the answers as quickly as possible. I made a mistake there. Type too quickly, I pressed the letter Q, and then the game didn't accept it. It thought I wasn't pressing it. So it doesn't count unless you unless the question's on screen. So if you type a little bit too quickly, the game doesn't accept it. So here, the password is sjune space baby. You can enter that in without even knowing the password. You press the M button to make the map appear in the lower left-hand corner, and you want to hold down the control button so Nancy moves more quickly. So this map is not the fastest map, unfortunately. I think there are 3 or 4 different maps that you can get, and this is why I'm playing on junior mode as opposed to senior mode. You have a much easier map on junior mode. Still, that was such good luck with Bull that I decided to keep going. I feel like I've been extreme about getting the best score ever. I would quit at the map. Like, oh, that map's not good enough, try again. But gosh, that would require playing like a gajillion times to get perfect Bull and perfect map. Right? Well, those are the only random things in this speedrun, and unfortunately Bull is one that takes a long time, partially because it's random. So everything else in this run is pretty simple. Like, this has the exact same answer every single time. So do all of the other games, just the map and Bull, those are the only ones that change. Oh, I should probably say, this is a death scene. The one I'm getting to is a death scene not a whole lot of people know about. You get... I messed up on navigation there. But you get the death scene by trying to go to the final area of the temple without getting the glow stick first. You're supposed to solve all of the puzzles. I misspelled Zoc. Wow. My mistake. You're supposed to solve all the puzzles and get a glow stick, and that's how you can get through that final area. But if you try to go through the final area without getting a glow stick, you die. So that's what this death scene is going to be. And we'll see it in just a moment. So I run downstairs, turn around here, have to turn a couple of times. Go through this door, which is unlocked.
It's too dark. I'm sorry about the broken leg, Nancy. I'm sure you understand.
You have to click twice to get to the death. If you click 3 times, Nancy steps over the hole in the ground and doesn't die.
Nothing personal. Bye-bye.
I really do like how this was a little less than 8 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, less than 8 minutes. That feels like a major accomplishment, even though it was just pure luck when it came to playing Bull. That was most of the time saved. So thank you for watching. You can check out my other Death Percent videos. I'm going to be doing one for every game in the Nancy Drew series. Hey there, Nancy Drew.
Welcome to my latest dear
Arglefump here.
rotten
How long does
floorboards.
it take
Watch
to
your
reach the first death in Nancy Drew Ghost Dogs in Moon Lake? Not very long at all. It's under 10 seconds. 9 seconds, and
Welcome
then
to my
62
latest dear
milliseconds. It's very
rotten
simple. What you need to do is
floorboards. Watch
click
your
through the opening letter, then you spin to the right a little bit, and take a step forward. That kills Nancy. She only needs to take 1 step
Welcome to my
forward, and
latest
she
video.
dies in this game,
rotten
making it
floorboards.
very
Watch
easy
your
to reach the first death of the game. I've tried to get a quick death in all of the Nancy Drew games. So far, this has been the fastest one. You can check out my videos for the other games and see how quickly it took me to lose them.
my
Hey
latest
there,
hit,
Nancy
the
Drew
Haunted
Clue
Carousel.
Crew. To
start,
get the
dear
first
Ned,
death in the Haunted Carousel, you want to click in the upper left-hand corner to skip the opening cutscene. You want to go to Nancy's iron, turn it on, and then leave the hotel. You quickly go to Harlan's to trigger the conversation with Paula. Paula says the hotel burned down because you left the iron on, and that gives the first ending of the game. Paula fires you. You're off the case, Drew.
I have to turn it off.
So it's pretty simple to reach the first death in this game, because it's in the same basic area that you start the game in. Takes less than 40 seconds to reach this death scene. There is a little bit of navigation that you have to do in order to achieve this death, but it's not a whole lot. It's fairly simple to reach this death. If you enjoyed this death percent run for Nancy Drew the Haunted Carousel, check out my death percent runs for all of the other Nancy Drew games. Hey everybody, I'm Arglethump. In this video, I'll show off how to reach the first death of Nancy Drew, Danger on Deception Island. There's not a whole lot you have to do. You want to click in the upper left-hand corner to skip two scenes at the start. The opening letter and the scene of Katie walking to her boat. Then you have this conversation. You want to select the second conversation option, because if you pick the first one, Katie starts talking about the sheriff, and that conversation is longer. Either way, the conversation takes up about half the video. Then we're going to rush to the death, which is going biking without a helmet, and it's fastest to bike to the lighthouse by about like 2 seconds. And the reason this is faster than the sandwich death is because we skip the ending conversation with Bess and George. Oh, you also want to click in the upper left to skip the newspaper, and there. Took me about 53 seconds to lose the game. Hey there, Nancy Drew Clue Crew. I'm Arglethump. This is a death percent run for Nancy Drew, The Secret of Shadow Ranch. By death percent, I mean that I'm trying to reach the first ending of the game as soon as possible. It's called a death percent, even though Nancy doesn't die in this one. She just gets kicked off the ranch. In this game, most of the deaths involve getting kicked off the ranch, and there's several that you can trigger at the start of the game. Like, you can get attacked by the Chicken of Doom. You can pick all the vegetables, and Shorty will get you kicked out. And Tex can get you kicked out. As it turns out, the fastest one is getting kicked out by Tex, because in order to trigger the Shorty vegetable scene, you've got to talk to Tex about doing Shorty's chores. And in order to trigger the Chicken of Doom scene, you gotta talk to Tex about Shorty's chores. So, you know, all three of the deaths at the start of the game require you to talk to Tex. That's why the Tex death is the fastest one, because you gotta talk to Tex anyway. So might as well do the death which is right next to Tex. So what I did at the start was I started the game, and then I clicked in the upper left-hand corner to skip the opening scenes. Then I rushed right over here to this door. This door does not open unless you've called the Raleighs. And you can't really talk to Shorty or Dave unless you've called the Raleighs first. Another trick I did was I clicked on the star key as soon as the phone started ringing. That skips the ringing. That makes the Raleighs pick up instantly. So that saves a little bit of time. But really, as you can see, it's mostly just conversation. I rush over here to the door, and then I talk to the Raleighs for about 2 minutes. About 2 minutes.
No, wait. Just tell me about the
Phantom Horse?
Phantom Horse?
And now I'm going to go inside here. I'm going to talk to Tex. Just spin left and talk to Tex. And now we have a conversation with Tex. This is going to be longer than a minute. It's going to be another long conversation. So it took me less than 4 minutes to get to the first death of this game. Over 3 minutes is just talking. 3 minutes, 10 seconds, that's all talking. The rest is navigation, which is just like, you know, me trying to get to the door as quickly as possible, me trying to get to Tex as quickly as possible, and then me trying to get to Bob while holding the saddle as soon as possible. So I do mess up a little bit on the navigation with putting Bob's saddle into place. You could probably get a better time than me if you tried hard enough. The problem is that, wow, this was really kind of boring to do a run for, because I just had to play this over and over and over again, and I had to hear the 3 minutes of dialogue over and over and over again. So I got bored. So instead of, like, doing this 20 times in hopes of getting my best possible time, I did it more like 5 or 6 times. 5 or 6 times.
Talk to you later.
If you last that long.
So, you want to go here, you want to grab the saddle. I am going to mess up on the navigation of putting the saddle on Bob here. This could be faster. Yeah, see, I kind of messed up. I thought I clicked on Bob, but I didn't. And this is it. This is the end. So Tex gets mad at you for putting a saddle on Bob, even though you haven't done the chores that he just told you to do. So thank you very much for watching the video. I do think it's nice that it ended under 4 minutes long. That is a nice time. I hope to do death percent runs for all the games in the Nancy Drew series. So far, this is the second longest one. The longest one was Secret of Scarlet Hand. The next longest one after this is Stay Tuned for Danger, and then all the other games, it was less than a minute before I reached the first death scene in those. Hey there, Nancy Drew Clue Crew. I'm Arglefump. This is a death percent speed run for Nancy Drew, Curse of Blackmore Manor. The idea is that I'm trying to reach a death scene as quickly as possible. The first death scene you can reach is the plant in Mrs. Drake's conservatory. You need to click on it 3 times, and then you have the game over scene. It's technically a little faster to get a death scene with Mrs. Drake, because that's up on the top floor, and you start the game on the top floor. However, there are a lot of cutscenes with that one, because it takes a while for Mrs. Drake to scream, and then you have that long phone call where Mrs. Petroff fires Nancy. So, that makes the plant death scene faster, because it has a shorter cutscene involved with it.
Over there.
The timing for these death percent runs stops when those books appear at the end of the game. You know, when the main menu pops up, that's when the timer stops.
I'm Mrs. Drake. I take it you are Nancy Drew?
Yes, and I really did see something, Mrs. Drake.
So as you can see, most of this run is just sitting through cutscenes. What you have to do is click in the upper left-hand corner to skip the opening cutscene. I was a little slow with that. You could be faster with that.
I'd like to see Linda, if I could.
However, my navigation here was my fastest. I think this was only one of 2 attempts where I made it downstairs in under 15 seconds. And you'll get to see that now, because now I actually get to play. Just turn left, go through the door. Forward, 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 forward. Down, down, down. Left here. Forward, 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 forward. I have to wait for that door. And then forward, 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 forward. Left here. Forward, forward, forward. Triple click on the plant. That was click number 1. You watch this scene, then you have click number 2 and 3 right in a row. And that's it. That's how you reach the first death in Nancy Drew, Curse of Blackmore Manor. Takes about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And as I said, the navigation is about 15 seconds. So really, it's like watching 2 minutes of cutscenes and then 15 seconds of actually doing stuff. So, thanks for watching. Check out my other death percent runs for the Nancy Drew series. Hey Nancy Drew Clue Crew, I'm Arglefump with a death percent speedrun for Nancy Drew, Secret of the Old Clock. The fastest way to get to a game over scene in this game is to skip Lilac Inn, because if you go inside Lilac Inn, there's a long conversation with Jane. So it's obviously faster to skip talking to people here. You can move your mouse to the upper left-hand corner to skip part of this opening cutscene. That's what I did. I'm not sure why you can only skip part of the opening scene. instead of being able to skip the entire thing. You only skip one dialogue box. I don't know why that particular dialogue box is the one you can skip.
I should talk to Alan.
Once the scene's over, you want to move your mouse to the right-hand side of the screen and triple click. We get another scene of Nancy driving, and then we get to control Nancy. What you want to do is drive over this pothole over and over and over again until her car tire goes bluey. That's the sound of her car tire going bluey. Once you hear that sound, about 5 seconds later, you get this scene where you need to change her tire. I'm not going to tighten the lug nuts, and that's going to cause the death
I don't
scene.
get another flat, but I better go to the gas station and get my spare fixed, just in case.
It doesn't matter what you do here. You could drive up, down, left, right, or just stay in place and not drive at all. Either way, 5 seconds after you do the car tire incorrectly, you get this ending scene. So all in all, it took me 1 minute, 31 seconds, and 61 milliseconds to get to the end of Nancy Drew, Secret of the Old Clock. Thanks for watching my video. Stay safe, be a good driver, try not to hit any potholes, okay? Hey Nancy Drew Clue Crew, I'm Margle Fump. This is a death percent run for Nancy Drew, Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon. The idea is that I reach a death scene as quickly as possible. So the fastest death to reach in this game is making the pipes explode in this dining room area. The next fastest death would be pulling the emergency brake, but in order to get to the emergency brake, you have to leave the dining room area, and you can't do that without talking to the Hardy Boys first. So obviously it's faster to get the death in the dining room area, that way you're not talking to the Hardy Boys. All you have to do is wait for these opening scenes to be over, then you rush over to the pipes. You're gonna turn the pipe on, and then you're going to leave. Just leave the room, and it explodes. So the downside is, this is super boring. I had no fun practicing this particular speedrun. Just playing it over and over and over again, because it's mostly conversation. My final time is 3 minutes, 41 seconds, and 0.03 milliseconds, and it kinda hurts, the 0.03. I'm like, oh, I'm so close to getting 3 minutes and 41 seconds. So close. So I did time it. I am in control of Nancy for about 7 seconds during this speedrun. The rest is all conversations. This opening scene takes a while. Then we're gonna have a conversation with Charlena. And Nancy is going to talk twice. We also have like a minor cutscene with the pipes exploding. But really, like, I barely get a chance to.
What in the world?
Hey, what's
So it's
going
like,
on?
every new attempt, you have to sit and watch these scenes for 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes before you actually get to move. So I found it very, very boring, and so that's why I decided not to retry this speedrun, not to try it again, to try to cut out the 0.03 milliseconds of time. Because I'm not sure I did it perfectly. I think you could probably cut out 0.03 milliseconds. You could do it a little bit faster. We'll see when we actually reach the navigation part. We're still not at it. We have to talk to Charlena now. With this conversation, you have 3 options. You want to select the first option every single time because it's the fastest one.
Showing off in front of all of us minor celebrities. What was your
Oh, and
name
I forgot to
again?
mention earlier,
Nancy
at the
Drew.
very start
You're
of the
not
game, you
actually
want to
Matt.
click in the upper
Sorta.
left-hand corner.
I called
It
you not
skips
too
the
long ago
first
when I was at
opening
Shadow
cutscene.
Ranch. You gave me some information about Dirk Valentine.
Ah,
I'm still surprised
Nancy
Charlena
Drew.
doesn't remember
You remember
Nancy.
me?
No.
She would at least
What else
remember
do you know about
Dirk
Jake Hurley?
Valentine, right?
Nancy.
Well, the conversation is interrupted, and here we go. We get to move.
Excuse
I
me
move
for
my
a
mouse
second.
to the right-hand side of the screen. You turn right. You click forward many times. You take a left here.
Looks like
See,
someone
yeah, I
was
kind of
doing that.
hesitated a bit on the turning left part. So that's where you could lose 0.03
That doesn't
milliseconds and
look
get a
good.
time which is technically under 3 minutes and 41 seconds. And here's the scene. done. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching my death percent speedrun. Sorry that this is not an interesting game to do a death percent run for. It's all just cutscenes and only 7 seconds of action. On the bright side, that means I don't have a lot of time to screw things up in.
Wait, here's
Hey
my
there, Nancy Drew Clue Crew. I'm Arglefump, and this is a death percent speedrun for Nancy Drew Danger by Design. It's the 14th game in the Nancy Drew series. As you can see, it takes about 3 minutes and 45 seconds to get to the first death of the game.
For our landing, please make sure
So
your
that
seatbelt
first
is
death
securely fastened.
is
Thank
the
you.
telephone death. You don't answer Minette's telephone.
taxi!
In order to trigger the telephone ringing, what you need to do is fix the plotter. And that's really simple. You go to the plotter, you put the middle thing up by 1, and then hit the print button, and then boom! The plotter is fixed, and Minette's phone will start ringing. So the game over sequence occurs if you ignore her phone for like a minute, but that's a long time. It's faster if you either click on the door to go outside, or click on Nancy's computer. Either one of those things will automatically cause the game over sequence to happen without any waiting.
Fine. Well, actually, they lost my suitcase, so I don't have any clothes or my
You
cell
do want to
phone.
be
What's
relatively
going on
quick
in
about
there?
going
Is
to the
someone
door
hurt?
or the computer,
That's just
because the
Minette
characters
throwing
will
one of
talk
her
to Nancy the whole
tantrums.
time.
Don't
Like, Minette
worry.
will say
Just
things like,
stop screaming
"Someone pick up the phone!
No.
Nancy, this is your last
They
warning,
lost
pick up
her
the phone!"
suitcase? That's
And then
terrible.
Heather here
Well,
will
at least
say
you're
things
staying
like,
with Jing Jing.
"Nancy,
She'll have tons of
what are you
clothes you can
doing?
borrow.
Is she
Nancy,
all
so you
right?
want to be
Oh, you
fast
mean Minette?
enough
Don't worry,
that you
she's
don't
fine.
hear any of
At
their
least she will be after
complaints?
phase 3.
Because
which should
you have to
begin
hear the
right
entire
about
complaint before the
now.
game over scene plays. So that just adds like a second or two. Granted, having Heather go, "Nancy,"
See, she uses this
that's not a very
process
long
that some
thing.
shrink taught her to
It
manage
doesn't take up a
anger and
whole lot of time,
frustration.
but still
First,
fast
she
and skip
vents her
it.
rage
And the
for
point of a
10
speedrun
seconds,
is to
then
be
6 seconds of
as
sobs
quick as
and tears,
possible.
and finally,
This
at least
particular
4 seconds
speedrun
of
is a
robust
lot
laughter,
like the
all
previous
of which
game, Last
restores
Train to
her
Blue Moon
positive
Canyon,
flux.
where you have a
It's
long
all
opening
very
cutscene
weird,
that you
but
can't
it
skip,
works, and
followed
believe
by
me,
a long
without
conversation
it, she
that you
would be
can't skip.
impossible to
During
work
this
for.
conversation, you
With
want to
it,
pick the
she's a
fastest
mere
conversation
nightmare to work
options.
for. Anyway,
And that's
ready
what
to
I
get
did.
started?
So like
You bet.
here you say you
That
bet.
desk over there will
If
be your
you
workstation.
clicked on
I
that
made a list of
depends,
all the things that
Nancy
need to
makes
get
a
done
little
and put them
joke
on your
about
computer.
Minette, and then
That's
Heather
the
goes on
MetroPass.
with this
It'll let
conversation.
you ride the
So
subway
it's
all
obviously
over the
faster
city
to
for
just
free.
say
Go
you
ahead
bet
and take it.
skip the
Answering
joke.
the phone is your job.
I
If you
did
have
have to
any
click
questions,
on
just ask
that
me,
card.
that is.
That was a
Do
brief
not
moment of
bother
gameplay
Minette.
in the
She's behind on
first
her
like
spring
3
collection
minutes.
and is in danger of falling
Here we
way
have two
behind on her
options.
couture projects.
If you
Why
select
is she so
couture
far
projects,
behind?
you get a couple of
She's been
sentences about the
under a lot
dress
of
that the
stress
first
lately.
lady is wearing, which is important
Yes?
at the end of the game.
Who are you talking
It's
to over there?
faster
Nancy
to
Drew,
not
you
talk
know, from
about
the
that. It's
States?
faster to just ask why Minette's been under,
Yes,
why Minette
Minette.
is so slow
As soon
in
as you
making
feel
her
up to
projects.
it,
And here we go.
right through
Now
that
we're going to
door.
finish the
I'll let
conversation
you
and
get
do
back
some
to work.
actual gameplay.
Have fun.
1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3
What's this?
1,000, 4
That's the
1,000.
plotter.
Done.
It's broken. Fixing it is one
Now
of
we
your
have to wait
jobs.
for this plotter scene. It is a very slow plotter. And as I said, the next thing I do is I turn to the right to the door, and I click on it to exit. You could just turn left to the computer. They're about the exact same distance, but I practiced the speedrun like 6 times, and this was my
Nancy?
fastest time. My fastest time was going to the door as opposed to going to the computer. I don't know
I
why.
should have gotten the phone.
So that was 3 minutes, 40 seconds, and 0.6 milliseconds. Very close to getting exactly 40 seconds. Getting the timer correct for this video was a huge pain. I'm not sure why. Maybe this game is just really nasty when it comes to timers. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Please check out my other Nancy Drew Death Percent speedruns if you feel so inclined.
Hey, I'm Nancy Drew. Anyway,
Hi,
here's my
I'm
center of
Arglefump.
operations,
This is a
my
Death
desk.
Percent speedrun for Nancy Drew, the creature of Kapu Cave. The idea is that I'm trying to reach a death scene as quickly as possible, but it's not very quick with this particular game. It takes about 15 minutes. Takes about 15 minutes. I got to the death in 14 minutes and 42 seconds, and I'm pretty sure I screwed up in several places. You can get to the death slightly faster. Either way, it is going to be a while before you reach that death. Why is it the case? Well, there's no death scenes at the start of the game. You start off the game as Nancy at Big Island Mike's. And there's not a whole lot you can do at Big Island Mike's. Basically, you meet the Hardy Boys, you meet Mike, and you make a necklace. That's all Nancy does. And it takes a while. There are no death scenes there. Later on in the game, there's a death scene. You can drown while snorkeling, but I think you can only do that as Frank, because he's the one who gets snorkeling equipment. Nancy can't get snorkeling equipment because Pua's not here in this opening section.
If you're looking for a real deal Hawaiian vacation, you got off at the right spot.
So we start with this longish conversation with Big Island Mike.
You sign up with Big Island Mike, you'll live like a real Hawaiian. Work like they work.
You want to select the
like
correct conversation options to make the conversation go as quickly as possible.
Sounds good, but
see, I'm like a tailor. Only I don't make clothes, I make vacations.
As usual for Nancy Drew games,
goodness,
the characters tend to
Hawaiian
say the exact same things no matter which conversation option you pick, because it's the start of the game, and he's basically just explaining how the game works. Right now he's explaining his Big Island Bucks program.
You'll have a good time doing it, I'll make sure. In fact, I've got a couple of guys staying here about your age. They're from the mainland too. I got those boys surfing, shelling, fishing, snorkeling, everything. You sign up, you'll do everything too.
It's interesting
Maybe
he
even at the
says
same
he's
time
got
as
them
them,
snorkeling when he
Sounds
does it,
interesting,
like
but
Frank
I'm
has
just
to
here
get
to
a
pick up
bunch
some
of Big
car
Island
keys.
bucks in order
My
to go
name's Nancy
snorkeling.
Drew.
Oh, you're the wahine who's going to be working up there in the
He's
rainforest
mostly got
with
them
Dr.
surfing
Kim
right
studying
now.
bugs.
Don't worry, we won't actually get to the point where
I hope
we
so. I
switch
think
from
bugs are
Nancy to
really
the Hardy
interesting.
Boys.
Better
So let me
to be
get back
working
to
for
what I
Dr.
was talking
Kim than up
about.
at the Hilly Hilly.
Well, with this
That
game,
doctor
we
there,
start
he
off in
makes
the
people
area
miss
of
stuff
Big
way
Island
worse
Mike,
than
and
bugs.
Nancy has to
What
make
kind of
him a
stuff is he
necklace, and
doing?
then she gets to
Nobody
go
knows.
to the
Big
forest.
mystery. People
So
who
then
work at
Nancy's
Hilly
going to
Hilly,
go
they
to
never stay
Dr.
long.
Quigley's
And when they
camp, and she's
leave,
going to solve
they
the
don't
puzzle of opening
Well,
the
I should
trunk
probably
that
get
gives
going.
her
Dr.
the
Kim
hook
arranged for you
so
to
she
use one
can
of my
fix
rigs.
the
Not
winch.
the key
That
right
way
here,
she can
but
fix
you
her
know what?
car
I'm
and
not
drive
gonna
to the
give it to
Healy Healy Center.
You're not.
Then
A
she's
Big
going to go to
Island Mike
Dr. Craven
immersion
using the
excursion
pass,
beats
which she
chasing
got from
bugs
the
around
trunk.
jungle any
That lets
day.
her talk
And
to
prove
Dr.
it,
Craven.
I'm not
If you
gonna
try
give
to
you the
go
key
there
until you go to the
earlier,
beach.
they
Collect
won't
some
let you
shells,
inside.
and
The
make a
person at
necklace
the
for
gate
me.
will just say,
You can put the
go
shells
away,
you find
go
in
away.
here.
Just back up your
Make me
car
an aloha
and
necklace.
leave.
There's a picture
Which is
of
a
it
very
over at the
rude thing
necklace
for that
making
person
table.
to say.
But I really think I should go meet
So
Dr.
then you
Kim
have a
like I'm
long
supposed
conversation
to.
with Dr. Craven,
the necklace?
much like this
I'll give you the
conversation where
key.
you have to
Only
select
know
the
what?
fastest
You're not gonna want it
conversation
anymore.
options
You're
possible.
gonna walk on the beach, look for shells.
Then you're gonna go to the
sit,
greenhouse. You're
string
gonna
them.
go
You're
inside
gonna
the
get
greenhouse
so relaxed.
5
You're gonna
times in a
come
row.
back in here and say,
I'm surprised that's a death scene. I had no idea that it was actually a death scene when you go into the greenhouse 5 times in a row. As you'll see, I mean, this happens at the very end of the video, so it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be like 12 minutes before we get there.
Hello?
But when you go inside the greenhouse
Ned, hi.
5 times in a
Perfect
row,
timing. I
the
just got
person
here.
inside
In fact, I'm
yells
on
the
the
same
beach.
thing at you every single time.
No,
So, you
I
know,
had
like
to
after
collect
4
shells and make
tries,
a
I'm like,
necklace
oh,
and
well,
find
you
the
just
key
can't
she
go into the
left for me.
greenhouse.
It's a
I had
long
no idea
story.
there was actually a death
be
scene
there with you.
there.
Believe me, it's done nothing but rain nonstop since I dropped you off
So
at
I'm
the
told the
airport.
discovery of
Besides,
that
this
death scene
constant
was
shade of
a
gray.
good thing
It'd
for
be
people who do
depressing
these
even
death
with you
percent
here.
runs,
With you not
because
here.
it allowed them to reach
Oh
the
my
first death of the
gosh,
game as
you're not
quickly as
gonna believe
possible.
This, but Frank and Joe
I think
Hardy are here.
outside of that, the next
Positive.
death of the
Hey,
game
listen,
is
I'll call you later,
probably
Bye.
messing up on fertilizing
I
Dr.
just got here.
Dr. Craven's
I'm going to be
plants.
helping
I'm
this
told that's a death
entomologist
scene.
dad
I haven't
about
gotten
new
it
field
yet.
work for the
I'll
next
have
2
to
weeks.
replay the
What are
game
you
someday
guys
and
doing
purposely
here?
try to
We got
get
here yesterday.
that
Believe it or
death
not,
scene.
we're on assignment. Joe, keep it down. Richard Akins, the CEO of Akins Biotech?
I guess the next death scene would be definitely the snorkeling one, though. Like, what you do is you play to the point where you get control of Frank Hardy.
No kidding.
And then you go snorkeling.
What is this Akins guy
that'd
need
be-
a background check for?
That'd be
He's thinking
okay,
about using
because
Pua in
what
the
will
ad
you do
campaign for one of his products.
if that
He
was
wants
the
to
death
make
you're
sure there
going
aren't
for?
any
If you're going for the
skeletons in either of
snorkeling
the
death
Monopoly
as the
closets
first death,
before he makes her an offer.
you do this
Since she
opening
teaches
scene as
surfing for her
Nancy,
dad, we signed
then
up
you'd
for
go
one of
into
his
the
immersion
forest,
excursions
then
so
you'd
we could get to know her
immediately
and make
switch
sure
over to
she's
Joe
as
Hardy,
clean as
do
she
Joe
seems.
Hardy's
Akins
things,
figured someone who
then
was
you go
closer
step
to
back
her
to
own
Nancy,
age
then
could find out a lot
immediately
more
switch
than some
over to
private
Frank,
investigator.
and then
So you were
you'd
basically on a
then you'd
vacation
get the
in Hawaii
snorkeling death.
and
But
learn
of
how
course,
to
you'd have
surf.
to get a
Is
lot
that
of
what
Big
you're
Island
saying?
bucks in
Don't
order to
worry.
get the
As soon as
snorkeling
the
equipment
opportunity
first.
presents itself, we'll be doing some hardcore snooping too. Yeah, Akins wants
Yeah,
us to
so
make sure
I
Moffin's
mean, if
business
you're
is also
first,
squeaky clean.
if the death
guy
you're
never
going
leaves his
for
office. So
is
far,
the
it's made
snorkeling
rummaging through
death,
his paperwork
then you
impossible.
try to play
So
as
you're doing
Nancy
fieldwork for an entomologist?
Just me
as
and
little
Dr.
as
Kim and a
possible.
couple
It'd
thousand
mostly
of our
be
closest
a Hardy
insect-type
Boy centric
friends
run.
out there in the jungle.
In this case,
Watch out for
the
Connie
faster
Ocala.
death
Oh,
is the one
Joe.
inside Dr.
Watch out
Craven's,
for who?
and
Connie
so
Ocala. That's
it's
Hawaiian
going to
for
be
rough-skinned
a
man.
non-Hardy
He's this
Boys
legendary
run.
guy
I'm not
who
going to
got
play as
half
the Hardy
burned up in
Boys
a
at all
volcano
during
a
this
millennium or
speedrun.
two ago, and now whenever something really bad happens on
In
the
fact,
island,
it feels like I'm not
people
going to
start
play at
saying
all
they've seen
because,
him in the
oh my
jungle. He doesn't
gosh,
like people messing with
we're
his
6
island,
minutes
see,
in,
so he goes on
and the
these
characters are
rampages.
still
Apparently,
talking.
his temper
We're
is as
still
nasty
learning
as
what the
his complexion.
storyline of the
And there's
game
been a lot of
is.
sightings lately, probably because of the pineapples.
What's wrong with the pineapples?
The pineapples have been growing so poorly on this
Oh,
part
and
of the
everybody
island. People
agrees
say there
that
may
they
not
do
even be a
not
local
like
crop
the way
this
the
year.
Hardy Boys
Nobody
look
can
in
say
this
why.
game. Frank and
Although I'm willing
Joe.
to bet this Connie Ocala
Oh.
guy could.
Joe.
If he really existed, which of course he does not. Happy, Frank?
I mean,
Well,
Joe
I better
definitely
get
needs a
going.
better
Good luck,
looking
you guys.
t-shirt
I have
and
my cell
a
phone, so
different
keep in touch.
hairstyle.
You too.
Like,
In fact, if
he's
there's
got a
anything you
comb
need out
over
there,
and
food,
it just doesn't look
toiletries,
good.
monster repellent, call us anytime, okay?
Okay,
Alright, so here I'm going to
bye.
play as
See you,
Nancy, and you need to pick up every shell. I accidentally went forward when I wasn't supposed to, which is sad. But the shells are always in the same spot at the very start of the game. So yeah, I meant to grab this first thing. But I accidentally stepped forward instead. So that was a mistake on my part. This is not a perfect run. I did make
Big Island Mike
mistakes.
told me to. Ah, here we go. So what shells
And now
do
you
I
get to
need?
make an Aloha necklace. The shells, I don't really like the necklace making in this game. I mean, this is a fine puzzle, but I don't really like searching the beach for shells because they're not really there. It takes forever to find enough shells to make any particular necklace. It is possible
There.
here at the start of the game
I'll
to
just
make
give this
more
to
than
Mr.
one
Moppo
necklace.
And be on my way.
And if you do, you get a slightly different bit of dialogue. Big Island Mike says something like, I'll take all the necklaces.
You finished the necklace.
As opposed to,
It's right
I'll
there.
just
And
take
it's
this
gorgeous, if I do
necklace.
say so myself. In fact, I'd kind of like to keep it.
Sorry. My idea, my necklace. But the rig key is yours.
That's
Thank
such
you.
a mean
Hey,
move on his
one more
part.
thing.
To
Kane
force
Okada.
Nancy to make a necklace, and then he
Ruskin guy?
steals it
What
from
about him?
her,
It's the
and
people
he's
at Healy
probably
Healy.
going to
They're
sell it
doing
to
something
tourists
that
for
Kane Okada
real
doesn't like.
bucks,
That's
not
why he's
these
back.
fake Big
People that say
Island
he's just a
bucks.
legend, don't believe them.
I'll remember that.
It's like
really.
definitely not a
Hope I
good
don't
person
regret
to
this.
leave your
The
car
rig's out
keys
front.
with.
Got a GPS system and everything. The location of Dr. Kim's camp's already programmed in.
Alright,
Well,
so
it
now we
was
leave
nice
and then
meeting
go
you.
off into the
Mahalo.
forest. And as I said, well, we're gonna have more scenes here. You can watch these scenes if you really want. We're just going straight to Camp Quigley. You have to visit Camp Quigley in order to get the access pass for the Healy Healy. That's the reason why we're going to Camp Quigley right now. It'd be nice if somebody could find a skip which allowed us to get into the Healy Healy early. That would be cool, but I doubt that is possible.
Stuck in a ditch. Great.
That's because when you first go to the Healy Healy, you have this argument with Dr. Craven, and
Sounds
Dr.
like I missed a
Craven
call.
mentions the pass. He's like, where did you get that pass? So I think you really do have to get the pass to get inside the Healy Healy.
Hi, Nance, it's Joe.
Just because there's a conversation centered around it. But
But
hey, you know, maybe it's possible. Who knows? You can leave a comment on this video, letting me know if there is a faster way to get to the Healy Healy. And then I'll probably have to redo this video, get a better speedrun time.
Just holler. Take care.
I did
So, on top
practice
of being
this
stuck in a ditch,
3
I'm
times in a
stranded
row.
the
So I
jungle.
did 3
Well,
attempts.
At least I'm not alone.
I'll have a
I mean,
link
I
in
won't be
the
when I
show
find Dr.
notes
Kim.
of this
Oh my
video
gosh,
description
this place is a mess.
to the video of me practicing
And
the
where's Dr.
speed run.
Kim? A tape recorder. There's a
But
tape
I
in
only
it.
did it 3
Looks like it
times.
needs to be
I only did
rewound.
3 attempts at the speed run, and then I stopped because it's like 15 minutes. So, here you want to listen to the 4th thing. You don't have to listen all the way through. I didn't mean to click on the case journal there, so that's a mistake. If you eliminate that mistake, you can get a faster time than me.
Anybody here?
Let's see if I get any other
Dr.
mistakes.
Kim?
I think another mistake is I just have a hard time opening the
Bad feeling about
the
this.
trunk. I mean, it's not too bad, but like I always forget you need to second click on the lock. Oh, actually, yeah, I think I opened this lock pretty well. That's a pretty fast lock opening speed.
Malachi Herbert Craven.
Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, I'll just leave a link to my practice video in the description of this video. Did a live stream, only did it 3 times, and then this was the fastest of the 3 times because I'm pretty sure I messed up on my first and second attempts.
Okay.
So this was my best attempt, but it's not my best ever attempt. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Maybe someone there knows where Dr. Kim is.
Okay, now we just escape here. I should have clicked. I should have done like a triple click backwards. That would have been faster. Accidentally clicked on the car there, which is a time waster because Nancy talks about the ditch instead of immediately leaving. Okay, and then I have to use the hook over here. I always find like the controls with the hook and the winch to be a little bit tough. I'm not sure, but I wish there was a way to like really zoom in and do it really quickly. But I haven't figured it out yet. Maybe I'm just bad at video games, which is probably what happened. Yeah. Okay, so we have the pass. Now we're gonna go see Dr. Craven. It's gonna be a whole long conversation. So there are 2 ways to get inside. The faster way is to simply just swipe the card.
All right, lady, hold it right there.
Probably shouldn't have done that.
The other way is to press the assistance button and then tell the person you have the card, and then he's like, hold it right there.
Craven, of course.
Because that card was reported stolen.
Now, what were you doing with that pass?
I found it.
So there are many variations
Dr.
of this
Kim's
long
base camp.
conversation
My
with
name is
Dr.
Nancy
Craven.
Drew.
This is
I'm
the
Dr.
faster
Kim's
one where
temporary research
Nancy just
assistant.
sort of talks to
Today's
him
my
for a
first
while.
day.
And
I got
as
that pass
as you'll
because
see
when
when
I
we're at the
arrived,
end of the
Dr. Kim's base
conversation,
camp was
we
all
skip
torn
some
up,
of the
and I couldn't find
conversation
her anywhere.
options.
So
Like,
I went searching
why
through
does he
stuff for
think
something
Dr.
that might
Kim
tell me
stole
where she
that
is.
pass?
I thought that
And
since she had
we'll
that
hear
pass,
about it
someone here
like
could
right
tell me
now,
where
so I'll
she
be
is.
quiet for a bit.
Well, you thought wrong. And for your information, that pass was reported missing. She probably stole
Okay,
it
so you
weeks
see our
ago.
conversation
You think
option.
Dr. Kim stole it?
Oh, use your brain. This is a private research facility
Now I'm
with highly
confused.
restricted access. Of course she stole it.
All right,
In this
that's
final
enough.
conversation, we will have a conversation
You're
option
jumping all over me
about
when the only thing I
Dr.
did to you
Kim
was tell you
stealing
the
the
truth.
pass.
I
But,
know who you are, Dr.
I
know
thought I
you're an
saved time by
incredibly gifted
skipping it.
scientist whose work has never been fully appreciated.
Now Nancy's just
In fact,
regurgitating
as an
all the
amateur
facts she learned about this
horticulturist,
guy
I would give
from
anything to know
Dr.
what
Kim's
you're doing with
notes.
the plants in here. But being a genius does not give you the right to be rude.
Oh, I'm sorry, young lady.
All right,
Everything you
now
just
she's
said
going to
is
mention
quite
his
correct.
blog.
The genius part rings particularly
No,
true.
she talks about the science
How do
freak.
you
If
know
she talks
about
about the
me?
blog, he brags
read a
about
lot.
how awesome
Like I
his
said,
blog
I'm
is,
kind of a
and
science
so it's
freak.
faster
If
to
you're interested
not
in
have him brag
horticulture,
about himself.
Why are you assisting an entomologist?
In this case,
Well, bugs and
you
plants do
pick the
kind of
shorter
go hand in
sentence
hand.
because it takes
And when
less
I
time
heard there
for
was a
Nancy
free
to say
round-trip
it.
ticket to Hawaii involved.
Okay, and here's the conversation
Smart
list.
girl.
See,
I
I
still
skipped
need to find Dr.
skip
Kim,
2
so
conversations
I better
about
go.
Dr.
Marvelous
Kim.
idea.
So it's not like 100% obvious, and I messed up the navigation there. What you need to do is right turn to get away from there instead of U-turning.
Darn it.
But yeah, I did skip several conversations. Not several, just 2 conversations about Dr. Kim while talking to Dr. Craven. So here it is. You rush downstairs. You go inside like 5 times in a row, and you notice it's like, well, this doesn't seem like it's a death scene. It's just the same thing over and over.
Warnings, you are out of here.
I'm busted.
But yeah, you do it 5 times in a row, and it's definitely a game over. So thank you very much for watching my video. That is how I got to the first death of the game as quickly as possible. I hope that, you know, someday someone will find a faster death scene, a faster way to get to the first death of the game. But I'm not entirely sure that's possible. As I said, please leave a comment if you have some idea of how to reach this death sooner. Hey there, Nancy Drew Clue Crew. I'm Arglefumph. This is a death percent run for Nancy Drew White Wolf of Icicle Creek. The idea is that I'm trying to reach the first death of the game as quickly as possible. The first death of the game is burning food. And I checked every single death. So, can you scrape off snow on the skating pond? Not until you talk to Bill first, so you can't do that at the start of the game. Can you freeze to death outside? Yes, but that takes like a minute or two. What if you change the time so it's later in the day? Well, if you change the time so it's later in the day, well, if it's later on, it's colder, so Nancy freezes to death sooner. But, and here's the thing, if you change the timer to later on in the day, you have to do your chores. Otherwise, when you try to go outside for Nancy to freeze, you get a phone call from Chantal saying, hey, why didn't you clean the rooms? Or hey, why didn't you do the laundry? Or hey, why don't you do the cooking? So that's why going outside at a different time is not a good death scene. It just takes too long because you have to do the laundry first. But cooking is definitely a death you can do at the very start of the game. You do have to change the time though, because you start the game at like 9:05, and 8 to 9 is when you have to cook breakfast. So you have to skip ahead to lunch, which is 12 o'clock. But that's fine, because Nancy's alarm clock is already set to 12 at the start of the game. So you go to Nancy's alarm clock and move to 12 o'clock. You don't even have to change the time, just hit the button and Nancy wakes up at 12. And you have to go to Nancy's dresser anyway in order to pick up the key. Nancy can't leave the room without first picking up her master key. So it's simple. You just go to Nancy's table, you grab the key, you set the alarm clock, then you go downstairs and burn a quesadilla. That gets you to the first death of the game. So there is a minor skip with the task list, which I wasn't able to do. So the idea is that you open up Nancy's task list and then you click on it, because Nancy can't talk while Nancy is talking, and there are like 2 lines of dialogue that Nancy says here in the speedrun. Like, number 1, she says, that must be the key that Ollie left for me. But on Nancy's task list, she'll say, check, or can't do that yet. And both of those are faster things than, that must be the key that Ollie left for me. So by getting Nancy to say, check, which interrupts, that must be the key that Ollie left for me, you know, we cut off that sentence about the key and get going on with the game that much faster. It only saves like 1 or 2 seconds, so it's not a huge time saver. I do try to do that here. I wasn't able to do that. The task list is always there on junior mode. I tried doing it with senior mode a couple of times, but the task list button was grayed out for whatever reason, so I switched to doing it on junior mode. Nancy, the first thing on Nancy's task list is to read the case file, and you can do that before the game starts, so that's easy enough. You can read it on Nancy's desk, so you can actually finish the first thing on your task list before starting the game. That's a fun little thing. Okay, so here we go. Now I actually get to control Nancy after 4 minutes. 4 minutes. I run over here. I did do this. I tried and failed to do the task list skip. It's very sad. I did do this like 5 or 6 times, and this was my fastest run. I'm surprised because I think it's not super duper fast. I did mess up like some navigation there, like turning to the right, messed up there, and then turning right again. I kind of messed up. But that's another line of dialogue there where Nancy says, I don't need to cook. I don't know why she says that, but I imagine if you did the task list skip, you know, that would skip that line of dialogue of Nancy saying, well, I'm not going in there until I have to cook. For whatever reason, you need to double click on the door to get Nancy inside. Maybe I clicked on the door in the wrong spot. Maybe that was my mistake. In which case, if you click on the door in the right spot, you could probably get to the end of this game faster. So that is my death percent run. 4 minutes, 35 seconds. That's how long it took me to get to the first death of the game. As I've indicated, there's definitely room for improvement in this death percent speedrun, but I hope you found this informative and entertaining anyway. Hey there, Nancy Drew Clue Crew. I'm Arglefump. In this video, I will try to reach the first death of Nancy Drew, Legend of the Crystal Skull, as quickly as I possibly can. It doesn't take all that long. This is a very simple game to reach a death. In the first minute of the game, all you do is you click on the door, and we'll get to the door clicking soon enough right here. Did you see where the cursor changed from a magnifying glass to a hand? Yeah, that's when I click my mouse to open the door. And we have some more cutscenes. In the second minute of the game, the only interaction we do is pick a dialogue option. There are 2 dialogue options. You want to select the second one because it's faster.
Hi, the door was open.
If you select the first option, we get a brief animation of Nancy drinking from Renee's cup, and then she puts it back down. So skipping that is faster. We select the second option so Nancy doesn't drink. Once the opening scenes are over, we rush to the first death of the game, which is right outside. It's inside the fountain. We click on the spider 3 times, and then we have the scene of Nancy falling unconscious. You could also go outside and have the wasp death, but that's longer. It takes more time to reach the wasp death. It takes longer for the wasp to kill Nancy than it takes for the spider to kill Nancy.
Where am I?
Also, the wasp death
in the
has
library.
a
He and I
brief
carried you
scene
in
of
here
Nancy
after I
calling
found you
Bess and saying they
unconscious
have
in
to
the
cancel
foyer.
their vacation.
Why is it so dark in here?
There is no such scene
Lightning must have
with
struck
the
a
spider
transformer
death. There's no
somewhere.
phone call. What
What
happens is
happened?
Nancy says,
Can you
I'm feeling
remember?
woozy, and then she
Well,
falls
the front door
unconscious,
was open,
and it goes
so
straight
I
to the
walked
second
in,
chance screen.
and
So that's
then
why
I
the
saw
spider
this-
death is the
well,
fastest one.
I saw a
It's
skeleton,
closest to the area
and
where
then
you
he
start
saw
off.
me. And then the lights started
Really, there's not a
flickering,
whole lot of
and he threw
gameplay
something at me
here.
that exploded.
Basically,
smoke
you
must
get
have
up,
made me
you
pass
go
out.
outside,
You
and
saw
then click
a
on the fountain.
skeleton?
And the fountain
I'm
is
sure
just
it was
a
just
straight
someone,
shot from
you know,
the door.
wearing
so when
a
you click to
costume
open
or
the door,
something.
you're just going to be
I'm
click,
Nancy
click,
Drew,
click,
by
click,
the
click,
way.
click, like
I came to
12
see Henry.
times in a row.
So we surmised.
That's
I'm
how
Renee
you get it.
Amond. I'm Bruno
I was a
Bolle's
little
housekeeper.
unsure about the
That is, I
timing
was.
of this run.
Skeleton
So,
that attacked you.
I mean, if the
We
timing
should
has
call
to be
the
changed, I will
police.
definitely leave that
no
in the
emergency
show notes.
room, no
I'm told the
police.
timing
Things are
ends
complicated enough as
when
it is.
the spider screen
Henry's
fades
feeling
out.
right
So the
overwhelmed.
spider screen fades out, and then the second
You
chance
are
screen
looking
sort
much
of fades
better,
in.
so I'm gonna
I'm
get
like,
back to my plant potting.
So
You
where
need
is the
anything?
official
I'll be
time where
outside in the
we
garden.
stopped fade number 1 and start
call
fade
them
number
and keep
2?
them on
So
hold for
I
5
tried to
hours
play
and
it
see how
safe
they like it.
and did like 15 extra milliseconds on the timer just to be safe. And you'll get to see that here soon enough. But yeah, that brief moment of navigation is really the only navigation
that
you have
spider
to
is
do.
poisonous. I
So
could get in
it's
trouble.
very fast to reach this
Because
death
I'm
scene.
starting to feel kind of...
Alright, so here we go, fade to black, and then fade in. So, that seems right. I think I got the timer stopped at the correct spot. I'm not 100% sure about that. Either way, the time should round to 3 minutes and 15 seconds. That's how long it took me to reach the first death of this game. Hey there, Nancy Drew Clue Crew. I'm Arglefump. This is a death percent speedrun for Nancy Drew, Phantom of Venice. It's actually 2 death percent speedruns. I've got 2 of them going at the same time. You're hearing the one that's on the left-hand side, because that's my better speedrun. In that speedrun, I get the death scene in Fongo's office. The one in the upper right is the death scene with the bees. The 2 of them are going to be mostly the same for like the first 3 minutes. That's just the way this game works, is first 3 or 4 minutes are going to be the same pretty much no matter what you do. And you'll get to see the difference between the two of them here, because the one on the right is going to be slightly faster when it comes to leaving the car. That's how you start the speedrun. You want to leave the car, that forces you into a conversation with Colin, but for whatever reason, the one on the right clicks slightly faster.
Hello, you must be the American Margarita mentioned.
That's one of the weird things about doing speedruns, is that sometimes you're a little bit faster, and then sometimes you're a little bit slower, even though it feels like it's the exact same to you. All I did was click 5 times in a row. I didn't really have to move the mouse or anything. It's not like it's difficult navigation, it's just you're going forward in a straight line. And yet still, you know, I've got like a difference between these two runs. It's less than half a second, yeah, but it's still like noticeable when you see them side to side. So, yeah, speedrunning is weird. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about the run here. After we finish talking to Colin, we're going to go outside, we're going to meet Helena, and that's where the two runs are going to diverge. So the large screen is the Fongo death scene. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the parcel for Nancy. That gives her the ATM card. I rush over to the ATM, and I get Nancy's spy assignment. It says you need to spy on Fongo, and it gives you the pager. Then I'm going to go to Fongo's office and see that it's locked. That will let me get the bobby pins inside Nancy's room. So then I go to Nancy's room, I get the bobby pins. I go back to Fongo's, I use the bobby pins to open up the door to his office, and there's the death scene, because you get caught by Fongo when you open the office while he's inside. So that's a death scene you can get pretty close to the start of the game. The other death scene, that's the one which is in the upper right, the smaller one, that is the bee death. What you do is you go to the marketplace, you use your dictionary on the sign that says "We buy flowers." Nancy knows you can sell flowers for money in this game. So then she runs back over here, and she goes to the roof, and Margarita talks to Nancy for a long time. That's the reason why I think the Fongo death is faster than the bee death. It's just because Margarita talks to you for a long time. If there's a way to skip talking to Margarita, then the bee death would 100% be faster. So after you finish talking to Margarita, you go up to the bees, and then you get stung by the bees and die. You don't have, there's a spray at the market that you're supposed to buy. It's obviously faster if you don't buy the spray, because if you don't buy the spray, you don't have the bee puzzle. You just go straight to being stung by the bees, and then you die. And then Margarita talks again during that death scene, and she says an awful lot during that death scene, and that's why that's part of the reason why it takes so long. But I did put the two videos side by side just to really show off why I think this Fongo death is a little bit faster than the bee death. But as you can see, I'm not doing perfect navigation, so it's possible that the bee death is still faster.
I'm Helena Bear. I'm Nancy Drew. Sorry for all the commotion when I came
And this is about the moment when the two scenes are going to diverge. Alright, they already diverged a little bit. Colin shows different tesserae in his slideshow.
By the way, there's a parcel for you in the entryway. Ciao.
Alrighty, come on, here we go. So yeah, you know, my navigation isn't perfect on either run. Yeah, wow. Oh, okay. So yeah, the bee run, it looks like it's faster the whole time, but trust me, once it gets to Margaritas, it's going to be a lot slower. Navigation's not perfect there with the going forward, and I am going to mess up the navigation when U-turning here, but you want to hit instructions and then back away. You grab the items, and you can click that button there to get rid of... And now I'm going to mess up the U-turn. I like triple-clicked by mistake. Actually, I double-clicked by mistake. And then the inventory box gets in your way, which is sad. But yeah, oh man, I see the bee B video is talking to Margarita. Oh, I should mention, I am going to pause the video a little bit because of the save game. I saved my game and then reloaded. I think what you should do is like save, start the lock puzzle and then save and then reload. Because I had some trouble getting the tumbler set up. So it turns out there's only 4 different tumbler setups in Junior Detective mode, and like they're the same every single time. But for whatever reason, I had trouble during my practice run doing that, so I decided to do a save rather than, you know, rely on just... I messed up with navigation getting away from there, too. I decided to rely on a save, just because I had trouble with that during my practice run. That's all. That's all. So the clock is going to save. I mean, the timer is going to pause during the save. And Nancy is still talking to Margarita. So yeah, see, I'm saving my game, and then I'm going to load it. And then the timer automatically restarts. I paused both videos. I mean, I paused the B video during the timer pause. And here we go. Fongo's done. Nancy got stung by bees, right? So the Fongo death and the bee death are pretty much the same in terms of time, as you can see. But there we go. Margarita talked for a lot longer, as you saw there. So the second chance screen doesn't show up until much later. Okay, fine, like 5 seconds later, but still, that is a difference in time. That is a significant difference in time. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing me get to the first death of the game in Nancy Drew, Phantom of Venice. Both of the first deaths in the game. It takes about 7 minutes to reach either one. Hey there, Nancy Drew Clue Crew. I'm Argle Fump. I'm going to do a trick right here. So I click on Junior Detective and then I double click in the upper left-hand corner. That is the most difficult trick of this death percent speedrun for Nancy Drew Haunting of Castle Malloy. Oh man, that was so hard to do that because you have to like double click in the exact right spot. The first click lets you skip the opening letter, and the second click lets you skip the conversation with Ned. And for whatever reason, the area that you have to click in is smaller for Ned than it is for the opening letter. So, like, I just kept trying it over and over and over again, and Ned would not be skipped. He just kept on talking, and eventually I just wanted to shout, "Shut up, Ned! I want to get to the game!"
No, wait, I came all the way from the
Okay, so, a death percent run, I'm actually going to do something here in a moment, so I'll be quiet, I'll explain what a death percent run is. After I do a bit more navigation, I need to pick up a rock and throw it at the window. You need to pick a big rock, and I feel like, I might have hesitated there a little bit. See, the mouse went back and forth, like, it went to the right and then back to the left just a little bit, so I think if there's any room for improvement in this speedrun, it's there. It's throwing the rock. I was a little slow when it comes to throwing the rock.
I told you cannot be staying here.
Little slow. I mean, it's less than half a second, really. I did not waver and hesitate that long, but still, that is a slight area for improvement. So, getting back to death percent run, the idea is that I'm trying to beat the game as quickly as possible. And I've just done most of the gameplay. The tough part is clicking the upper left-hand corner. Just double-click at the right spot to skip the opening scenes. And then you need to immediately start walking to the castle. You need to just go straight upwards towards the castle. I'm told that it's slightly faster if you're walking to the right of those lanterns, but you do have to go a little bit to the left because there's a bridge there. One time I got stuck in the gate where the sheep shows up. I went a little bit too far to the left. That was silly. So you go straight up, and then you're just going to click on the door. You have that scene with Denal, and then you need to throw a rock through a window. It's faster to throw a big rock through a window than it is to throw 3 smaller rocks. That's the other way you can get Kyler's attention. Then you're going to double click on the door to start this scene. Hooray! You have the brief scene of Kyler talking to Denal, and you get thrown into this conversation. So,
upset the fairy people or
You
whatever
just
the
need to
course
select the correct conversation options here. You only have like 3 options to pick. It's not that bad.
You see,
But that means most of this speedrun is just talking to Kyler and the cutscenes with Denal.
he's calling to me, saying things I
Once
can't
this
quite make out.
conversation is over,
Teasing me the
I'm gonna
lot.
turn
So I left
around
this somewhere
and
close by.
leave.
He'll be
That
here for
is the
wedding.
fastest
I'd
death
stake
of
my
the
life
game.
on it. Of course, I remember
Now, a
very
faster
intention
death
to solve
would
the
be
mysteries.
walking off
So
the
if
cliff,
you
but
want
you
to get
can't
this
do
one,
that
by all
without
means
the
do.
lantern, and you can't
could
get the
start a
lantern
love
until
scene.
you've talked
It's
to
down the hall.
Kyler.
That's where
So,
Nancy Cotton is
that's
spending most of
that's
her
why
time.
you can't do the walking off the
Nancy.
cliff death,
If
or
you
the
want
walking
me
in
to
the
borrow
bog
Ruin
death.
the
You can't
silver
do that
trick
without
of his
the
would teach him a
lantern
lesson he
either.
sorely needs.
So you'll see here that the death is
The 5 months I
almost
spent living with you,
immediately
Dad, and Hannah, and Togo, of
behind you.
course.
You just need to
That
go
was
in a
very
straight
happy
line.
time for me, Nancy. I
You
can't tell
turn
you how
and then
thrilled I
click
am
like
here.
7 times in a row, and then that's it. That's the death scene. It's very simple to get. It's hard to mess this up. Like, unlike grabbing the rock and, you know, where you have to move your mouse around a lot, here it's like you barely have to move your mouse. I don't even need to move it here. So there's little room for improvement in the turning around and running forward. I think the only room for improvement in this speedrun would be picking up the rock and or like navigation going directly to the castle door. Other than that, this was a very good speedrun. I'm satisfied with it. I think I did very well. That's probably the best time I could possibly get without trying this like 50 more times in hopes of getting a better time. So thank you for watching, and check out my death percent runs for other games in the Nancy Drew series. Bye! Hey everybody, I'm Arglefump with another Death Percent speed run.
And when I woke up this morning,
The first death in Ransom of the Seven Ships is the golf cart puzzle, which is really close to the start of the game. It's usually the first puzzle that most players encounter. Either that or the puzzle to open up the closet. Or maybe the battery puzzle. But neither of those puzzles lead to death. The golf cart puzzle does. So that's why if I'm speeding to the first death of the game, I'm speeding to the golf cart puzzle. Here in the opening scene, you only get one conversation option. You want to select option number 3, and it's going to show up in a few seconds here. I'm going to click to steal that piece of paper. You have to steal both pieces of paper from George. I guess you're not really stealing them. She's giving them willingly. Anyway, you click to get the papers from George, and then you select conversation option number 3. That's how you get through the first conversation with George. You also want to click in the upper left-hand corner at the very start of the game to skip the opening cutscenes, and it's a lot nicer in this game than it was in the previous game, Haunting at Castle Malloy. In Castle Malloy, you had to double-click in the upper left-hand corner, and you had to hit a very specific area, but in this game, you only need to click in the upper left-hand corner once. And the area you need to click in is a little bit larger, so it's a lot easier to skip the opening scenes in this game. The navigation in this game is just kind of tough. It feels tough to me. And I love how George says, "That was fast," when you talk to her. Like she's complimenting my speedrunning abilities.
Anything else?
Okay, so after you talk to George, you go to the shed, you see the shed's locked. You go back to George and ask for the key. She gives you the key. You use the key to open the shed here. And then you get the water thing, and you're going to have to do a series of somewhat difficult clicks in a row. It's not too tough, but, you know, I put the water thing on, I click one of those red tiles, I click one of the blue ones in order to distribute water, then I press the red button to actually shoot out the water, then I back away, and then I click on the steering wheel to cause the death. So it is like 5 or so clicks in very quick succession. It's not too tough, but I could see people getting tripped up on that. Me, I thought the navigation in this game was the tricky part. That was the thing that was really messing me up. So thanks for watching. That's how you get to the first death in Ransom of the Seven Ships as quickly as possible.
Hi,
Hey
I'm
everyone,
Nancy Drew,
I'm
the
Arglefump.
headmistress
This is
of
a
the
death
Waverly
percent run for Nancy Drew, Warnings at Waverly Academy. You want to click on Junior Detective Mode and then click in the upper left-hand corner to skip the opening cutscenes. That saves you a fair amount of time. And in this opening conversation with Corinne, you want to select the final conversation option every single time. That's the fastest way through this conversation. It still takes her about 2 minutes to get through the conversation. So the fastest death of the game is getting kicked out of Waverly Academy for getting too many demerits. You can get demerits for climbing on the tree outside of Nancy's room. And you start the game in Nancy's room. So just go to the tree and climb on it. You do that 5 times in a row, Nancy will get kicked out of Waverly Academy. So every time Nancy climbs out the window, Corrine is going to say something. There are 3 different things she can say. And Paige is going to say something. There are 4 different things that Paige can say. Now, Corine's things are pretty similar in terms of time. Paige will see you, I guarantee it. That's 2.07 seconds. That's the shortest one. Next is, I wouldn't do that if I were you. That's 2.13 seconds. And finally, there's, you're gonna get in trouble, which is 2.5 seconds. So the difference between the shortest and the fastest there is like 0.34 seconds. It's not a huge difference. In comparison, the things Paige says, they're pretty different. The fastest one is out of the tree, which is 5.13 seconds. The longest thing she says is 7.1 seconds, so that's 2 seconds longer. So this is my best speed run, because Paige says out of the tree 4 times in a row. She said the fastest thing 4 times, and that's good. If I got it 5 times in a row, it would be 1.77 seconds faster, which is not a huge amount. With the stuff that Corrine says, if she said the fastest thing every single time, that would save me 0.98 seconds. So, put those numbers together, 2.75. That's how much faster this speedrun could go if I got the fastest conversation option every single time.
Paige will see you, I guarantee it. Miss Sawyer, get down.
So this is the long one. This is the one that's 7.1 seconds. And it's easy to tell that this other one is shorter because we have fewer words on the second line of her dialogue box. And yeah, other than that, there's really not a whole lot. Like, you do barely any navigation. You have to move your mouse from the left to the right a little bit and just click a bunch to go through the window. It's just going straight out the window over and over again. It's hard to mess up that navigation. So really, it just comes down to luck. You want the characters to say the fastest possible things every single time. I just got lucky because Paige said her fastest thing 4 times in a row. If I was even luckier, if I got the perfect best time ever, this would be 2.75 seconds shorter. I'm satisfied with this time though, because wow, that would require getting like a 1 out of 4 with Paige's, and then a 1 out of 3 with Corine's things 5 times in a row, and the odds of that are pretty hard to reach. I think this is good enough for me. I won't be trying this over and over and over again in order to get that ideal perfect time. So thank you very much for watching my speedrun of Nancy Drew, Warnings at Waverly Academy. Have a great day. Try not to fall out of a tree, okay? Hey everyone, I'm Michael. I'm going to talk quickly because I don't have a lot of time in this video. Here's how to get the fastest death in Nancy Drew Trail of Twister. You click in the upper left-hand corner to skip the opening scenes, and then you get into a car crash as soon as possible. It's difficult because the cars are all random. When and where the cars appear is random. You have no control over it. So you just have to have good luck when it comes to getting a fast car crash. I tried over 50 times. This was my fastest attempt. The only attempt in which I died under 20 seconds. It does look like you take more damage if you smash into a truck and if you're going faster. And I'm already out of time, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing me get the first possible death scene in Nancy Drew Trail of the Twister. Hi everyone, I'm Arglefump. This is a death percent speedrun for Nancy Drew, Shadow at the Water's Edge.
Don't worry about that.
It's pretty straightforward. You want to click in the upper left-hand corner to skip the opening scene. You want to click to pick up your keys. And here you want to select the final conversation option, which does require you to scroll a little bit.
See you later.
Then you're gonna rush to Nancy's room as quickly as possible to reset the time. We get thrown into a conversation with Bess and George, and that's going to be the majority of the speedrun, is listening to this opening conversation with Bess and George.
And George's convention is crazy. I've never seen
So the fastest death of this game is getting caught by Suki. And that's the only death which is available at the very start of the game. The other deaths require you to move ahead to the second day of the game. So that's why this is the fastest death, because you can get it pretty much right at the start. You do have to change the time, though. Miwako does not leave the front desk until 1 a.m. So you... Or is it 2 a.m.? 3 a.m.? I think it's 1 a.m. 1 a.m. Anyway, we're gonna see what time it is. We rush to Nancy's room so we can change the time to 1 a.m. And then we go straight to the desk and get attacked by Suki. That's what you do. That's what you do.
It's great.
So outside of this conversation, mostly just navigation. So I did not have perfect navigation. I played this 10 times in a row, and I do mess up with the navigation of Nancy's phone here when I'm changing the time, but it's not so bad. Okay, you want to grab the key, step forward twice, and then, yeah, see that the phone navigation messed up there. Let's see what time I switched it to. Oh, messed up my phone navigation again. Okay, so outside of a couple of slip-ups with the phone, it wasn't so bad. And you just rush downstairs, you get to the computer. Navigating to the computer can be a little difficult, but once you're there, it's very easy. You just click on this box. Looks like 4 times in a row, and then you get the surprisingly violent death scene of Nancy being mauled by a robotic cat. So, it was 2 minutes and 22 seconds. That's how long it took me. It could probably be 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I think I could save about 2 seconds if I was better with navigation and it did not mess up on Nancy's phone. Either way, I hope you enjoyed seeing me play Nancy Drew Shadow at the Water's Edge. Check out my death percent runs for other games in the Nancy Drew series.
Hi,
Hey everyone,
Nancy
I'm
Drew.
Arglefumf. This is a death percent run for Nancy Drew, the Captive Curse. It takes about 1 minute and 16 seconds in order to beat the game if you're going very quickly. I doubt you could beat this game in 1 minute and 14 seconds. There is just not a whole lot of room for improvement in this particular speedrun. What you do is you select your difficulty and then click in the upper left-hand corner to skip the opening cutscene. You click on the doorbell as soon as you can, and then you solve Lucas's little puzzle here. I checked, it takes about the exact same amount of time to do it on Junior mode and Senior mode. In Senior mode, the correct options are in the exact same column, but there's an additional row, so that makes them about the exact same distance apart. Once you have once you solve the puzzle, you're gonna move your mouse over here. You're gonna double click and then move your mouse slightly to the left to click on the lever like this. Double click, move your mouse left, click on the lever, and that's it, you're done. So really, there's only like 5 seconds or so that you have to be moving the mouse and clicking. As I said, there's not a whole lot of room for improvement in this particular speedrun. I was really hoping I would get something underneath 50 milliseconds so it could round down to 1 minute and 15 seconds, but alas, I was not able to do that. Nancy Drew games 13 through 21 all take more than 2 minutes to lose, so I was pleased with how quickly this one went. Hey everyone, I'm Arglefumf. It's a little hard to know when you start playing Alibi in Ashes. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll notice 2 of the action icons flash the second you click, and that's when I started my speedrun timer for this. My goal is to reach the first death of the game as quickly as possible. And it's really simple. I managed to get it in 38 seconds.
Oh no!
What you do is you go forward to start the fire, you check the door, and then you back away from the door to start this door puzzle. And This is probably about as fast as you can do the door puzzle. All the items are in the exact same spot every single time, so that helps a lot. And what you do is you click on the window, and then you just go forward several times. That's it. Really, that's the first death of the game. It's being burned in the fire, and I really like how it was exactly 38 seconds on the dot. Woohoo! That made me feel good. I don't think there's anything else to say. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed my death percent speedrun. You could wait inside the burning room. If you stay in the room a few minutes, that's a death scene, but it's faster to leave the room and burn in the fire outside than it is to die in the fire inside the room with the thermostat. Hi everyone, I'm Arglefump. This is a death percent speedrun for Nancy Drew, Tomb of the Lost Queen. There's not a whole lot I can say about this particular speedrun. This is the first game where you get to choose between Amateur Sleuth and Master Sleuth. So as you saw there, when you click the mouse to select which difficulty setting you want, the color changes. The color inside the magnifying glass changes. That's when I started the timer. There is no way to skip this opening cutscene. So you just have to sit and watch the cutscene. Now we get to watch the second cutscene. And that's gonna be the last cutscene, the second one here. But we do have a long phone call afterwards. We get to talk to John. What happens after that? Well, the first death of the game is being caught by Lily when you snoop through Abdullah's bunk. And that would be the bunk which is in the far back on the right-hand side. So once the phone call ends, you're going to go to that bunk and click on Abdullah's trunk twice.
They kept talking about
and that's
the
it.
old team disappeared, and then they were gone.
Like less than 4 seconds, I think. It's definitely not a whole lot of gameplay.
What?
The docs here say there's reason to believe I was attacked. Nancy.
There is a little bit of randomness in terms of what Nancy and Professor Boyle say when they end their phone conversation.
Are you sure? Will you be
I think there's like 4 different things that Nancy can say, and there's probably 4 different things that Professor Boyle can say. But I did not, like, replay this game over and over and over again to get every possible conversation to figure out what the fastest way to end the conversation is. Okay, here we go. I'm about to do something.
I'll see if I can prove whose tomb this is and find out
I
who
did
attacked
do
you.
something here. I clicked on
See ya. Catch you later.
Okay, so you go over there to there, and you double-click. Done! That was 3 seconds, maybe 4 seconds of actual gameplay in this speed run. Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of room for improvement, unless, you know, maybe you can click a little bit faster when getting to Abdullah's trunk, and then maybe Professor Boyle and Nancy could say something shorter. Like, maybe they could end the conversation saying, bye, bye, hang up immediately, and that could maybe save like a second. Well, thank you for watching my death percent speedrun of Nancy Drew Tomb of the Lost Queen. Check out my runs for the other games in the Nancy Drew series. Hey everyone, I'm Arglefump. This is a death percent run for Nancy Drew, the Deadly Device. I'm trying to reach the first death of the game as quickly as possible. I'm going to start this with a glitch. So in the lower left-hand corner, I'm going to call Victor right now while Nancy is calling Victor. You have that brief moment of time. So as you can see, this is so funny. Nancy's calling Victor while Nancy's calling Victor. So you can hear him talk in the background and in the foreground. Here's the strange thing, though. You can't hear Nancy talk in the background and in the foreground at the same time. The game doesn't let that happen. Nancy can't talk while Nancy's talking. Nancy's just very special like that. So by having Nancy talk on the phone here, that cancels out the dialogue in her conversation on the video call, the one that you can't see on screen. So that speeds up the opening phone call with Victor. I'm cutting off all of Nancy's dialogue through this phone glitch. And there are 2 more things that it's going to skip. We'll see those in a moment. I should note I also clicked in the upper left-hand corner at the start of the game to skip the opening scene of Nico being killed. You just go back to like minimize the phone, but you'll see the phone dialog box is still there. I accidentally messed up typing the code. That's a mistake. That is a mistake. It's definitely possible to get a better speed on the speedrun, and here we go. When Nancy's phone rings there, click on the phone call that's already in process to end it. And that completely skips the scene that Nancy had with Victor. Normally he calls and tells her about the power outages, and you know, that scene goes on for a while. So I managed to skip it with the phone glitch. I also managed to skip the scene that occurs after that. We saw the scene of Nancy being clumsy and walking through the lounge. There's no way to skip that, but normally what happens is you switch the game to nighttime. Doesn't matter if you switch it to daytime or nighttime. Either way, Nancy gets woken up at nighttime. And there's this scene with Gray. Gray takes you outside and you have to solve a puzzle with a bunch of switches. Well, that got skipped. That got skipped because of the glitch with the phone call with Victor. So there are 3 skips with that glitch. We skip the phone call with Victor in the lounge. We skip the big scene with Gray and the puzzle of flipping the switches. And we skip some of the dialogue in that opening conversation with Victor. Nancy only talks 4 times during that opening conversation. Okay, so I am here upstairs so I can grab these items. There's no way to grab these items without talking to Ryan. If you try to use the glitch to avoid talking to Ryan, the game just crashes. The game does not allow that. I don't know why that is the case. So, now I am going to switch to nighttime so I can distract Gray, and I'm going to go in Gray's area and make this key card, because I just got the 2 items for the key card from Ryan's area. Alrighty. My navigation on this is okay, but it can be improved. This is not like the super best perfect time. See, I messed up there. Accidentally clicked out of the game window. Messed up a little bit there. This is the fastest solution to the puzzle. You're supposed to, like, click 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, but I accidentally moved my mouse a little bit too far to the left in between 2 and 3. You're supposed to do a double click there. So that didn't cost me too much time, but it was a mistake. I'm also slow when it comes to typing up this. I imagine you could improve it by having it memorized. Just know what the correct password is. Just have the entire thing memorized. It's just a combination of random letters. Similarly, if you have this puzzle memorized, you could probably speed it up, do it a little bit faster than I did. I mean, this is decent time, but I think it is probably possible if you have the entire thing memorized. I am just reading off of a guide. I've got a picture that shows, hey, here's where you put all the pieces, and the order you put the pieces in. There is some leeway in terms of the order. Like with the 2x1 pieces, you could put the green one in place first, or the purple one in place first before it. Doesn't really matter. Either way, we're here at the first death scene of the game. The first death scene of the game is blowing yourself up with the chemicals. And I use water on purpose because I just think it's funny that water explodes and kills Nancy. So that is it. It is almost exactly 5:30. When I practiced a speedrun, my best time was 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So this was a little faster. This was only slightly faster than my previous best time. Can it be improved? Sure it can. I'm also going to post a video of me doing this death percent run without doing the glitch. So check out that video if you want. Hi everyone, I'm Arglethump. In this video, I'm trying to reach the first death of Nancy Drew, Ghost of Thornton Hall, as quickly as possible. And it is going to be rather fast, because this game introduces the skip button. You click on the button to skip dialogue. That lets us zoom through this opening conversation with Savannah. Unfortunately, there is no skip button for the opening conversation with the gossipy ferryman. You have to hear all of his gossip before you can start the game.
Well, thanks for being concerned.
Both times that we have the skip button appear in this game, I tried to move my mouse to where the skip button would be, but I missed. I was wrong both times. So I think you could get a better time on the speedrun by not missing the skip button. It's also a little tricky. Here it's very easy. You just click to go straight forward. With Colton, it's kind of tricky because you have to skip for a little bit, then you need to grab this, then you have to skip for a little bit more, and then you have to select the last conversation option. So that's some tricky navigation. You have to do like 5 clicks very quickly in a row and have the timing down perfect. The first death of the game is right inside Thornton Hall. You just run to Thornton Hall, double click on the door, and then it's game over. So it's very easy to reach the death. Really, the only way you could improve this speedrun is by having better navigation. Do a better job of moving your mouse when you're selecting conversation options and when you're selecting the skip button. Thank you very much for watching my video. If you like this, check out my death percent runs for other games in the Nancy Drew series. Hi everyone, I'm Arglefump. This is a death percent speedrun for Nancy Drew, the Silent Spy. The goal of a death percent run is to reach a death scene as quickly as possible. This game proved to be difficult for me. I had a lot of difficulty doing this death percent speedrun. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's just hard to reach the first death of the game. The first death of the game is with Moira. You need to find Moira, and then there's your death scene. You can get caught when Moira's kidnapped. So basically, you have to play the first 5 minutes of the game just like normal. I think the only real thing you do differently here is not talking to Bridget, and even then you have to meet Bridget anyway. The other thing you can do to save time is to not follow the instructions from Revenant. Oh, I'm double clicking here. I mean, even these opening scenes are a good example of how doing this death percent run isn't really different from playing the game like normal, because we get 2 minutes of scenes.
Hey, my suitcase!
We can't skip those scenes, even though there's a skip button. There is a skip button here, and I finally get to use it. Yeah, that lets me skip that opening conversation with Alec. Now I open up this door, and I'm going to use the skip button again to skip the opening conversation with Ewan. And then everything else is just playing the game as normal, because Ewan gives you the task of finding Moira, and I'm just going to play the game as normal, finding Moira. So, I did get the Easter egg there from Nancy's safe. There are like 2 different ways to get money for this particular death percent run.
Do I know you?
I believe, well, 3 ways. Way number 1 is to do cookies, and that's slow. You have to listen how to make cookies, and then you have to make a couple of cookies. That's the slowest way. Number 2 is what I just did. I grabbed the Easter egg. I can use the Easter egg to buy tickets at the train station, and that will save me money. That is a money saver. The other way to get money is just to find money which is randomly scattered about. So, you know, there's money on the flowers in Nancy's room, and there's some money on the light bulb by the souvenir stand, and money on the lights in the hallway. So here's how the Easter egg saves me money. I can just buy tickets, and notice those tickets were free. Ho ho, that's great! So that saves me money. I need the money to buy food for Moira,
I think I found your
as we'll see in a moment. So if you're doing like a full speedrun of the game, you're going to need a little bit more money, because you have to buy something else. You have to buy the bagpipe part. But because this is just the death percent run, and I'm ending the video once we get the death scene with Moira, I don't have to get the additional money. So I don't have to go hunting for money everywhere in the game. It is sufficient just to use the egg to save money. It is a little faster. if you like randomly hunt for money and you get super lucky. Like say the flowers in Nancy's room has 20 pounds in it. Whoa, that would be amazing, right? Because that would give you all the money you need, and you only clicked once. You only looked at one spot. But whenever I tried like searching the various places where money were hidden, I generally had to find 2 or 3 different things of money to make up the 10 pounds you need for the train tickets. So I figured it was just faster to get the Easter egg in this particular case. And here, check it out. So this is me buying all the food that Moira just ordered.
On her list. Now to get the rest.
And that's going to take up pretty much all of my starting money. Yeah, I've only got 3 pounds left. So obviously not enough money at the start of the game to buy all the food and to buy the tickets. So I go back to Moira, and there's about 3 places, maybe 4 in Moira's apartment where you can get caught by the villains. One's in the closet, one's under the sink, and one is behind the couch. I think the couch one is the fastest, because the villains don't say anything. They find Nancy right away. If you hide under the sink, they say, "Hey, keep looking!" Well, that doesn't happen, as you'll see, when you hide behind the couch. The villains don't say anything before searching the house here.
Would you look at that?
Yeah, so I think that's the fastest one of the various places where you can get caught in Moira's apartment. Overall, I think you can improve the speedrun. You can definitely improve it. I did not do the best time ever, because this game just caused me trouble. I don't know why. It's basically playing the first 5 minutes of the game like normal, but for whatever reason, I found it difficult to do this death percent run. Hi everyone, I'm Arglefump. This is a death percent speedrun for Nancy Drew, the Shattered Medallion. I know a lot of people were disappointed by the game, and they don't think it's a very fun game.
Let's meet the contestants who are about
well, doing a death percent challenge for this game doesn't make it any better. It's still not very fun when you're doing the death challenge. The challenge is to reach the first death of the game as quickly as possible. The first death of the game is inside the puzzle palace. Nancy goes inside, a giant cube falls from the ceiling, and kills her. Why was there a giant cube dangling from the ceiling? Was the culprit trying to kill Nancy on purpose? I don't know. That never gets explained. We never find out who put up the cube. We never find out why. I mean, it seems like somebody was trying to kill Nancy, but nobody had any reason to try to kill Nancy at that part of the game. It's like at the very start of round 2. So in order to trigger round 2, you need to grab the fern leaf from the bridge area with George. So that's what we do here in this death percent speedrun. We try to grab the fern as quickly as possible. Once we do, we go to the sheep shearing shed, we get the text message about the puzzle place, then go straight to the puzzle place. And that's the death. So, it's basically the first 7 minutes of the game. There's no real change. That's how you would normally play the game. There aren't any skips or tricks. There is one. Oh boy. But first let's take a look at this. Let's watch me do this puzzle, because I am not very good at this puzzle. These trains. Yeah, if you want to improve this speedrun, this is a great place for you to improve the speedrun. Be a lot faster when it comes to doing that train challenge. Definite room for improvement there. Alright, hooray, I'm done. So that's going to give me the computer chip.
This looks useful.
We use that to unlock the next area. We are actually not going to be going to that next area, so there's really no point. The doubtful sound, we're not going there. We got a text, we have to open up our phone this time. The previous text, the phone opened up automatically. This time, we actually have to open up the phone. It says there's a puzzle at the puzzle place. It will give us one of the locked locations. So with this puzzle, I did okay. I was basically following the instructions on a piece of paper which showed where to click. That's all. you could improve this by just having the puzzle memorized and knowing exactly where to click. You can get a much faster time on the speedrun than I did. I bet, like, the ideal time is under 5 minutes. If you are very, very fast.
Figure out what these letters spell.
As I've indicated, this is just not a very fun game to do a death percent run for. So I didn't bother playing this like 20 times until I got an ideal time. I could, that's what I'd have to do. I'd have to replay this over and over and over again until I get good muscle memory, until I get a good sense of like how long things take, how long to click, where to keep my mouse. Over there is a very easy section right there where you just need to move your mouse towards the middle of the screen and just click like mad. Nancy runs all the way forward to the rope bridge. This scene automatically plays as soon as you reach the area. Let me go back to something I was saying earlier. I said there's no real skips or tricks, besides for one, which is just the plants. You're supposed to collect all 5 plants to finish round 1. Not true. I mean, you do have to collect all 5 plants in order to beat the game. But, in order to move on to round 2, all you have to do is get the fern plant here in the bridge area. That's the only plant you have to get. So I'm saving some time by not getting the other 4 plants. Because I'm gonna die before we actually need to finish the plant challenge. So that's the only real thing I'm skipping. Other than that, everything else is being played as normal.
Say hello to our newest
so, in that conversation with George, I used the skip button. Yeah, we actually got to use the skip button 4 minutes into the game. And we've had so many cutscenes. Like, this is the second big cutscene with the narrator. And, yeah, we're going to have another one as soon as we get the fern. And there's not much to say. I'm rushing back to that fern area where I was. Oh, wait, yeah, we have to talk to Kiri here. Just skip through the conversation with Kiri. It's kind of pointless in terms of this death percent we're on. We don't need to know who Kiri is. It doesn't matter. We're not going to see her again. Okay, again, we're going to rush forward and go to the bridge area.
This puzzle is a tad bit insensitive, considering...
I kind of like this puzzle. So, yeah, it's fun. I did not need to use, like, a cheat sheet to tell me how to beat this puzzle. I can figure it out fast enough. And then we get the fern here. I think that's a fern. I guess I could be wrong about what type of plant it is. Either way, you pick up a leaf, and now we get another cutscene with the narrator, the announcer.
On Pacific Run, New Zealand. Team Kia has
I like the announcer. The announcer is probably the funniest character of the game.
For second place.
Funnier than Bess is, funnier than Patrick is, funnier than Sunny June is, and I feel like all 3 of them were supposed to be fun, hilarious characters, but no, they're not really all that funny in this game. The announcer, I'd say, is the funniest character of the game. But when you're forced to watch the announcer's scenes over and over again, they stop being as funny. No offense to the announcer. I still like you, announcer. It's just, I wish I could skip your scenes here. We have a skip button in this game, but we're still forced to watch an awful lot of scenes. Okay, so as I believe I mentioned a few times already, what we are going to do is, we've started stage 2 of the game because we got the fern leaf from the bridge area. We go inside the sheep area. That gives us a text message. We are going to read it in a moment. Right now. It says there's a puzzle at the puzzle place, and it's not actually a puzzle, it's actually a death scene. That is some bad navigation there. I had trouble turning to the left. I don't know why. And here we go. This is the death scene. Hooray. Ouch. Ooh, that looked painful. And that's it. That's the first death of Nancy Drew, the Shattered Medallion. I'm imagining that you could probably get to this death scene in under 7 minutes, but that would require playing this game many times over, and I don't have the patience for it because it was honestly not that fun of a challenge this time. Hey everyone, I'm Arglethump. This is a death percent speedrun for Nancy Drew, Labyrinth of Lies. all of the deaths in this game occur in the underground set area. So to reach any of the deaths, we've got to reach that underground set area. And that's basically going to be this entire speedrun, is reaching the underground area. So the first thing we're going to do is, well, we talk to Xenia.
Bye-bye.
And then we're going to set off the fly system, so that's backstage. That way we can steal Xenia's notes. But we have this conversation with Grigor first, so we've got to skip through that. And then we set off the fly system. And we'll have this minor scene of Xenia just completely losing it because she cannot handle the pressures of being the director. So Xenia's script tells us the special passcode for the downstairs area that gives us access to the lift, which is great. Now we do need to get the book, which is in this underground area, because without that book, let me see. We do need to get 2 books, which I think is a little weird, but, you know, nobody asked me. So we're going to go downstairs here. We're going to stop to grab that book on the right. And for whatever reason, I had a really tough... Oh, yeah! We need that book to cross the river. That's right. So you need to press the combination that we got from Xenia's script.
This must be the control.
My computer did not like it when I typed in that number. It did not like it every time I typed in that number, so I had to type it a little slowly. Anyway, now we can use the lift, right? And we get to briefly see Thanos here. But we can't actually go anywhere because we need to give a coin to the animatronic ferryman.
You're trying to frighten me, aren't you?
This is sort of like the next game in the series is Sea of Darkness, and then the game before this was Shattered Medallion. And doing a deaths percent speedrun for any of these games in that sequence of 3 basically requires you to play like 5 to 10 minutes of the game normally without any real changes. It's not so much of a speedrun as it is just playing the game normally. There's only a few things we're going to skip in the museum that you would do in a normal playthrough of the game. So you do all of the chores that Melina has for you on her piece of paper that's on her door. You'd normally do that in a normal playthrough. We're going to skip those. All we're interested in is getting the key for the case, which has the coin, so we can get to the other side of the underground area. So we're going to skip through this conversation with Niobe and ask her for another book.
Later.
And I think that book helps us solve the puzzle, which is inside Melina's office. And yeah, navigation here is not the greatest, but hey, she just gave us like 3 things on the to-do list. We're going to ignore all of them. She said the key is here. You can't grab the key until you read those papers. Alright, then you use the key to get into the office, and you have a conversation with Melina. Because we have the book from the underground area, we can ask about the key to the display.
Talk to you later. Bye.
So then we're going to go left. We're going to solve the Greek puzzle. That's why we had to get that Greek book from Niobe. It's kind of funny, because, you know, I was really concerned about the time of this speedrun, because I did this like 6 times, and I was really nervous. I was being slow and messing up. I'm really nervous about when to start and stop the time in this video. So my final time, like as you can see, is something like 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, so I grabbed the key, and now I'm just going to rush to the downstairs area. I've still got the key on my on my cursor. That's cute. I rushed to the downstairs area and put the coin into place. Getting back to what I was saying. So it turns out that, you know, there are 4 other people who have done a death percent run of this game. And the fastest time, 4 minutes and 10 seconds. And yeah, I missed that. I missed that by a lot. The slowest time, so did the game just freeze for a second there? Huh. Weird. The slowest time so far, 5 minutes and 15 seconds, which is still faster than my time. So it's like, I was really worried. It's like, oh no, what's my time gonna be? What's my time gonna be? And it turns out I'm the slowest person to try to do a death percent speedrun of this game. Aww. You can get a slightly faster trick of trapping the dog token on the right-hand side for the second one. But here, it is kind of random which direction the dog goes, and the dog decided to go up left, which is a little bit longer than if the dog went straight down, because that's a longer pathway that the dog has to travel on. It's less than a second, but in a speedrun, the little things matter. So you go directly into this area, and you just run forward all the way, and then that brings you to the ending scene. All of the other death scenes in this underground area are farther away, because, you know, the workshop is basically the first room of the underground set area. So that's why it's the first death of the game, it's the fastest death of the game. Thanks for watching my video. If you want to do a death percent speedrun, go ahead, you could probably beat my time, because like I said, I am in last place in the race to be first. Hi everyone, I'm Arglefump. This is a death percent run for Nancy Drew, Sea of Darkness. I'm trying to reach the first death of the game as quickly as possible, and it takes about 15 minutes. This is not a game which is easy to lose. Yeah, the first death is pretty far into the game, and all the other deaths are really on timers. So like the death in the bilge room, you have to wait 2 minutes before Nancy dies. The death when you're snooping in Elizabeth's bag, I think that takes like 3 minutes. The death in the lighthouse, I think that's like 4 minutes. And then the death, I'm not sure if there's a death when you're snooping through the luggage in Soren's area, but there's definitely a timer for that. I said definitely, but I don't know for sure, actually. I guess I'm just making that up. I'm pretty sure there's a timer for snooping in the suitcase at Soren's. So, none of those deaths are good for a death percent speedrun, because they involve getting to the area where the death is, and then you sit and do nothing for minutes on end until the death occurs. It is faster to go to a death where you actually do something to trigger the death. In this game, that's the ice caves. You have to use the ice hook on the ice caves, and that causes Nancy to die instantly. And I think that's the only instantaneous death of the game. There may be one or two at the end of the game where you make a mistake with the culprit, but that's the same thing, right? Nancy dying in the ice caves. So that's what the point of this video is. We are going to the first death as quickly as possible, so we have to get to the ice caves as quickly as possible. And that basically requires playing the first 15 minutes as normal. There's not a whole lot of differences between this and a normal speedrun of the game. It's even worse with the next game, Midnight in Salem, because, like, the deaths in that game, they're like 3 minutes away from the ending. So you have to play, like, the entire game. This one, we at least skip a couple of things. Like, the tokens, you might have noticed there was a token, when I was getting that gas can. There's a token by the side. I'm not going to solve the token puzzle, which is on the ship's wheel. This is where things get difficult. Things get difficult. You need to make 3 orders of this stuff, and I don't have the solutions memorized. So how quickly I do this really affects the speed run. And I am just looking around trying to find one that works, and that's one of the easier ones. Is this, because it's got 4 of the goats? Those are all goats, right? So that means the middle one has to be all 4 goats like that. And then here I'm trying to figure out where my math went wrong. So it looks like the top row should have been on the top instead of the bottom. I was trying to get it on the bottom, but I was incorrect there. So from there I can easily get it. Great! Hooray! That's 1. I need to do 3. Yeah, if you want to get a very professional speed run for this game, you've got to memorize it, or just stop and save your game when you have to do this tour mortar challenge. I think here I'm figuring out, I'm trying to solve the puzzle at the same time. It's like, no, memorizing the solution would be way better. So it looks like in this case, what was I thinking? I just messed up. Okay, never mind. Forget that. Forget that. This is not going to be a world's greatest speed run. All right. So the bottom row is that one. Messed up that sheep there. And then we have 2 of the lax things there. Done. And now I'm just looking for another one that I can do. Just, I did 2 of them correctly. Let's see if I can find another one. Get another setup. That looks like it. So that's another case where that top row is on the bottom, or is it on the top? Yep, no, that row's on the top. You know, it's a little easier when you're trying to get, when you get one of those lines of 6, because you know that's either got to be on the bottom or the top, but figuring out which one it is, that's tough. And okay, that messed up my entire speed run. Super slow. Like, in like, the official winning speed runs, the people just zoomed through that. 2-3 rounds of Tor Mortar in less than, 30 seconds. But, I'm not that good. I don't have the solutions memorized.
The motor's busted. Can't take it anywhere like this.
You could, check the dinghy later on in the game. It doesn't really matter if you check it out here, but we have to see that there's no gangplank anyway, so I did it there. Messed up again, oh my gosh. So we need to see this sign so we can ask Elizabeth for the snowmobile key. Because it only makes sense that, you know, that's one of the few things we have to talk to Elizabeth about. So it only makes sense to have that conversation ready to go the first time we meet Elizabeth, because we're only going to talk to her once in this particular speed run. You need to get the batteries, you need to get the book, that's why we had to do 3 rounds of Tor Mortar. And now Elizabeth's here, talking to Soren, after seeing the gangplank is gone, creates that gangplank. Now we get to talk to her, I'm asking her for the snowmobile key. And that's it. Now I'm having trouble clicking on the button for later. Oh, man. All right, and here I'm gonna check to make sure. I'm checking the captain's log. I see there's a key. That's gonna trigger a puzzle with Dagny. There's going to be 1 or 2 more like additional puzzles I solve here. Number 1, I get the lighthouse key here because I have to get to the lighthouse in order to get to Magnus's cabin, and I have to get to Magnus's cabin in order to know where the ice caves are, and I have to, the ice caves is where the death is. So basically I'm just solving as little as possible, but I still have to solve a fair amount of puzzles just to get to Magnus's little house area. And here's the simple puzzle. You just pick up the flashlight. Nancy automatically combines her flashlight and the batteries. Okay, so now we're gonna leave. We're gonna talk to Dagny in order to get the radio key. Oh yeah, we have a phone call from Ned. We're gonna skip this. Hello? I feel cruel that the fastest conversation option is the 3rd one here.
This case is...
That gets Ned mad at you and he hangs up. So it is faster. It's the fastest of all those conversation options, but it's so mean.
So we're gonna do this.
I wish with that puzzle that Nancy was automatically thrown into the puzzle of solving the heater, because it always seems to mess me up. Like, I've got to end the conversation, but then I need to move my mouse up to click, and as you saw, I sometimes U-turn incorrectly. I especially the navigation of getting around on the ship. I just have trouble with that.
Where'd you get your PhD in electricitology again?
You do have to sit through that conversation before you can do it. This is probably not very fast. I'm sure, like, the super speedy people can click, move, and click, whereas it's like, do I have it in the right spot? Yes, and then I check. So, if I didn't hesitate to make sure I had it in the correct spot every single time, that would probably save some time. I'm not winning any records with this speedrun, honestly, so it doesn't really matter. That Tor Mortar is so bad that I'm not winning any records. Okay, so she just gave us the key, which I'm going to use. Again, I messed up, had to U-turn to get back to where I go. We use the key here.
Hello?
We have a bunch of conversations with Alex. This one, it doesn't really matter which option you pick. Just pick whatever option you want every single time. She says the same amount of stuff every single time. And now we need to pick a specific option. We're asking about distracting somebody on the ship, and she says you need to fix the lighthouse for it. And that's why we changed the tides earlier. Oh yeah, also with Soren, we wanted to select a specific conversation with Soren, so he gave us the pamphlet. And we needed the pamphlet and the dictionary. Pamphlet and the dictionary in order to solve this puzzle. Now, it is possible that, you know, you could have checked the engine right here at this point before solving the puzzle. I did it earlier, so it doesn't really matter when you check the engine. You've just got to do it sometime before this puzzle.
It's working.
Great, so now, like, Nancy just steals this random person's boat, and we never figure out whose boat it is. Nancy is such a thief. I made a mistake there. I should have grabbed the lighthouse key when the screen was black. That saves like half a second.
I made it to the top.
And if I was fast enough, I should be able to call Alex before Nancy finishes that line of dialogue there, but I was not fast enough.
Okay, I'm in the lighthouse.
I did skip some of the puzzles inside Magnus's cabin, so that would be the other, like, big time saver in this particular run is we're skipping some puzzles in the cabin. Yeah. And of course, as soon as we reach the death, we're not going to do anything after the death, so that's going to be a huge time saver, actually. So this is another place where you just have to get lucky with the randomness. It is just a random puzzle. I know some people think they have strategies which work for this, but I haven't seen any like strategies which work so well. They work every single time. I only need 2 more. This is why I'm playing on Amateur Sleuth mode, by the way. This puzzle's way easier on Amateur Sleuth mode. On Master Sleuth mode, you have to make a few more bubbles. Oh, man, I've got the 2, like, light-up things, but they're nowhere near each other. Got it. Okay.
Fixed it. Time to phone Alex again.
I saw I got it there. Alright, and here we go.
Uh-oh, that's not good. The windows are open. Oh, it's so cold.
So would it be faster to go with this is the death? No, because you have to wait like 3.5 minutes here, and let me see. So if this was the only death I went for, I would skip a couple of the things. Like I wouldn't have gone down to fix the flashlight. I still would have had to do Tora Mortar to you know, fix the boat so I could actually go here. So I don't think there was enough specifically related to this lighthouse scene that it would be a time saver to only do the lighthouse scene stuff and none of the others. I think I misspoke there, but whatever. The point is, this death is not fast enough for the purposes of doing the death percent speedrun. It is faster to go all the way to the caves, even though it's still going to take us a couple of minutes to get to those caves. Alright, and then everything's going to be real simple from here on out. We're just rushing to Magnus's little cabin in the woods. We've got everything for it. No, wait, no. I'm wrong. Alex told us about this, which gives us the alarm. That was that phone call. Alex told us about the secret alarm thing. That way we can steal Magnus's house key from Elizabeth. Again, running too far forward, had to U-turn.
I have a feeling Elizabeth never opened her gift. 4 crystals of each color, huh? This must be the key to Magnus's cabin.
And now we're gonna rush to Magnus's cabin. If you try going to the cabin earlier, Nancy won't know where it is. You have to solve Dagny's heater puzzle to know where the cabin is. But if you try going inside, it's locked, so it doesn't help.
It's out of gas.
You do have to distract Elizabeth for the key.
That should do it for the fuel tank.
Almost done now. Yeah, so what was this fun doing a death percent speedrun for this game? Not a whole lot of fun. It's basically just playing the game like normal, as I believe I've said a few times already. It's like this... It's just the challenge of playing the game quickly. There's no real skips or anything that we're doing. Nothing huge. Anyway, like I mentioned, hey, we didn't do the puzzle of on the ship's wheel of collecting the tokens. Well, most of the tokens for that puzzle were inside Magnus's cabin, and this death scene is right at Magnus's cabin. So is that really a time saver? No. Yeah, it's not. And here's the death, everybody. Woohoo! We finally made it! So, thank you for watching my video where I reached the first death of this particular game. I've done all the games in the Nancy Drew series, doing the death percent runs, reaching the first death of every game in the series. Check out the other ones, because the others are shorter and a lot easier, and I do some skips and tricks and stuff like that. This one was just pretty much a straightforward playthrough of the video game. Hi everyone, I'm Arglefump. Here's a death percent run for Nancy Drew, Midnight in Salem. This was not a fun game to do a death percent run for. Basically, you're playing the game... Oh, man. Yeah. So you might notice the graphics look a little weird. I did run the game in, like, the smallest resolution possible. But then I did it in full screen, so I don't know if that cancels out the slow the tiny resolution or not. So... Hope you enjoyed this little bit of gameplay here at the start of the game, because that's basically the first bit of gameplay we get in a long time. The rest is just clicking through conversations. So we have this conversation with Deirdre. I'm just going to click through. We're going to skip this cutscene. We're going to take 3 steps forward. Then we're going to skip another cutscene. Oh wait, we need to take more steps forward. Skip cutscene. Run forward. I really wish this had been a death scene. This would have been a great place for a death scene. Like, Nancy didn't capture the culprit in time. Death scene. And then that would have been like a death at the very start of the game. And that would have made sense. It would have been perfect. Like, you wouldn't have had to stretch the story that far at all. But no! We have to wait like a half hour before you get the first death scene. And here you just need to click a lot. That's the entire game, really. You just need to click, like... a crazy person, and then go. Click, 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 click. You move your mouse to the bottom of the screen there, and so that way when I'm clicking to skip through the conversation, I'm also clicking to select a conversation option. And we have to skip the scene. I don't know if running the game in like such low resolution actually helps with the loading screens, but you'll notice we have a bunch of loading screens, like that one where the screen just goes black and does nothing for many seconds. It's like that's because it's loading the next scene, basically. We get one whenever we use the car. Okay, so here we need to talk to Deirdre about everything. I know everybody complains, like, this game has way too much talking, but it's true! This game has way too much talking! I mean, I guess you could say, well, in the game's defense, we're sort of started with the first day of the game, and it hasn't been 5 minutes yet. You can reach the start of the game in 5 minutes. But no, I've skipped like 10 minutes of talking, though. I have. Okay, and here's the black screen where the game is clearly loading. I don't know how that affects time. When it comes to speedrunning. Here I accidentally clicked in the wrong spot. I was trying to click between the characters so I could reach that that road area so I could turn and go to the museum. The navigation in this game is also not very good. I don't think it's that bad, but if you're definitely trying to speedrun the game, then yeah, this navigation's pretty terrible. So, like here, I'm struggling. Of course, it doesn't help that that entire wall is just shining bright, like the sun is literally inside the room with me. So we get the key. I mean, we get the ticket from Tegan, and we use it on Olivia, and that's going to give us this puzzle where we have to use the tablet in like 5 different places, and that's half of the challenge of day number 1. I think it's an okay idea because we get to visit every spot in the game, we get to know everything that's important, but some of it's not important. Like this, there's no reason for us to know that that particular plaque exists. And there's no reason for us to know that this particular statue exists, really. I mean, I guess it's good for background information on Salem, but like that gets covered by the other stuff, really. Yeah, they could have cut that out. Also, the sinkholes were not important to the game, because we never interact with the sinkholes. That would have been another great place for a death scene, is you can accidentally fall into the sinkholes while trying to move your tablet there. That would have been good, and like, if this had been one of the original Nancy Drew games, there definitely would have been a death there. So, this is important. We're going to have to come back there and interact with that statue, so I'm like, okay, that's worth making sure players know about it. The Hathorn House is a big thing. We've already Deirdre, like, already gave, like, a big explanation of it, and so did Tegan. So I feel like we don't really need, this extra information about the Hawthorne House, but it is important. So the statue and the Hawthorne House, it's like, those are the only two places the players really need to know. Okay, so the second half of day number 1's challenge is just getting inside the judge's room, and that's it. I feel like the game would have been improved if there was some way to combine this with other stuff. Like, if they had combined the judges thing here on this day with the events of the second day, that would have been fine. That would have been fine, because all we're doing here on day number 1 is the judge, and here I messed up with the, oh no! I think I messed up with the paperclip twice. You have to use it on the door. So I was messing up with using the paperclip. I feel like probably the reason they put this here in the game is so we could say there is a puzzle on the first day of the game. I know people have said, well, it was a puzzle going around town and finding all of the spots where you use the tablet. I'm like, I guess that kind of counts as a puzzle, but, like, not really. It counts as more of a puzzle than on the second day of the game, where the puzzle is talk to everybody about their alibi for event number 1. And then the next puzzle is talk to everybody about their alibi for event number 2. And it's just talk to everybody, okay? Seriously, that is not a puzzle. You are not having to do anything that difficult. I'm sorry, I should not have been so angry there. That was an angry outburst. We're going to skip this cutscene, and we kind of have a puzzle of getting to May, which is okay. You know, I like the puzzle idea, but also, you know what I don't like? Having to wait so long to talk to May, because that's the mystery. Our mystery is to figure out what's going on with May. She's being framed for arson, right? So what we did just there is we solved the puzzle of making May like us, and now May is actually going to talk to us about stuff. But May is still going to lie to me about the alibi, not say where she was, which is just a dumb move on her part, and I don't like that. It's like we have a victim who's unwilling to help. You know, at some point, Nancy just needs to stand up for herself and say, fine, you know what? I'm not going to solve your mystery, May, unless you get more cooperative.
You know what? No.
May also has the big, like, reveal that she was the victim of arson on day number 2 of the game, and I feel... I made this complaint before, but why did they save that for day number 2 of the game? Because that just... In day number 1, everybody's like, oh, May's the prime suspect, she's the prime suspect. And they refuse to say why. It's not until day number 2 they say, oh, she actually set things on fire, and half of her face is scarred. Maybe that's a holdover from, like, the original version of the game, where May was not a victim of a fire, where she actually had albinism. But, I mean, that was what, like, her original description, released by Her Interactive, said. Like, they had the picture of her, and they had that description of her, and they changed it. They also changed her last name. Her last name used to be Paris, or her and Tegan, but it got changed to Perry in this version of the game. And so we kind of have, I think it ties in with the storyline, which we have on night number 2 of the game, which is that they changed their name from Paris to Perry, so nobody would know they're related to the original Salem witch hunters.
It's hard. Built by...
Not a fan of this first night of the game challenge either. Like, Nancy should be able to go to the Hawthorne House right away at the beginning of the game, because that's the other major thing she's here for. She's trying to figure out who really did burn down the Hawthorne House, but she refuses to do it until nighttime. That doesn't make any sense to me, except for the fact that, oh, well, it makes it scary. I really think that's it. And then we don't investigate there, actually. All we do is we get a little close to the scene of the arson, and then we get thrown into that long conversation with Lauren, and now we have this long conversation with Deirdre, and then the Hardy Boys are going to call because they're following up on their conversation from earlier. Oh yeah, and there was the ghost scene, which we skipped, so whatever. That's the second ghost scene. I'm skipping there. And now it's the second day of the game where the Hardy Boys show up. And I do think the game gets better here. This is at least a fun challenge. It's nice to see the Hardy Boys again. And I get to do something besides just skip through conversations, because the characters just never stop talking in this game. It makes me wish that there was a cooking challenge on every single day of the game, right? Yeah, that could have been fun.
1 spoon baking powder.
Looks right to
Would have been a lot more fun than what we got, which is just endless talking.
All right.
And it really does feel like maybe there was going to be like a second variation of the challenge where, you know, say every single day of the game, you have to make a different combination of ingredients. So like on day number 3, you're making something with 3 eggs instead of 2. For example, that I'm just making that up off the top of my head, and that would have been perfectly fine. I'm trying to remember what other Nancy Drew games there are where you have to do a challenge more than once. Oh yeah, Secret of Shadow Ranch. You have to pick vegetables every single day of the game, and you have to go collecting eggs. Yeah, you have to do that more than once, and that's fine. I mean, I hate the vegetable challenge. Most people do, but it's okay that you had to do it more than once. And so I feel like the Johnny Cakes challenge is fun enough that it would have been perfectly fine and great if you did it every day of the game. Here, this is a dumb conversation. May says, "Hey." That's her that's her conversation. Her entire contribution to this conversation. This angle is so terrible. Like, May and Deirdre are completely off screen, and it's a conversation with Deirdre and the Hardys. Deirdre's regularly contributing and saying something. May's just doing nothing, and yeah, if May had actually been, like, involved in the conversation, or, like, basically involved in the game, that would have been great. So what we did just there was we talked to her about her alibi, because the puzzle is to get an alibi for both of the events that we need alibis for, which, yeah, I mean, if we had gone, we could have done the conversation about May being caught in a fire, where she gives that big reveal. But it's faster to skip that conversation. You don't have to do it. With a lot of these conversations, you just kind of have to memorize what the fastest conversation options are. This is where it gets tough. I mean, this is like the only place where it is actually tough. Like with Lauren's conversation, you want option number 1 that's faster than option number 2. Here, I think it's option number 2, number 2, and then number 3, and then number 3. As you saw there. So we talked to her about everything, except for like 2 things. There are 2 things we don't talk to her about. Okay, we talked to her about the alibi stuff. That's great. And then we also talk about the key. We have to see this scene with Jason, because Jason gets introduced. And yeah, like, we're halfway through the game, and they're still introducing characters. Like, urgh. Like, if all the characters had been there from the beginning, I feel like that would have been better. And then we have this conversation, which is really long. This is the other one that's hard to navigate with Alicia, because we have to talk to her about everything, because we don't get to talk to her on day number 1 of the game, and we don't get to talk to her on day number 3 of the game. So they shove all of her conversations here on this one conversation on the 3rd day of the game. I mean, on the 2nd day of the game. And you saw the conversation list. There are like 7 things to talk to her about, and we've already talked to her about 3 things already. And, oh, like, if you're going to split up the game into like 3 days, it's like, why don't you split up her conversations among the 3 days? I don't get it. I don't get it. It's another weird programming decision I don't quite get. You can't read that. You can't read that. Such tiny lettering, especially on the lowest resolution possible. So we need to see the doors locked. We need to call Nancy's dad. Nancy's dad will call the judge, and he did that, so now the judge gets it. I don't think we need to talk to the judge about Nancy's dad. Yeah, but that triggers our ability to see that particular post-it note. We're going to enter the code here, and then we do the investigation here, which, again, I think could be improved. I think this is counted as one of the official puzzles of the game. I did that. I checked out the 2 things by the window, and yeah, you can't read that in tiny mode here. this one is always one which gets me every time I play the game, because it's just not intuitive that you need to open the drawer and then use the evidence list on the drawer. There are 3 drawers you want to open, and then the other thing you have to do is check that and talk to the judge about it, and that takes care of this area here.
I went through the
So the reason I do the judge's area... Oh, we also need to get alibis from the judge, too. The reason we do the judge's area first is because it allows us to get the key for the Hathorn house, and it just makes sense to get to the key, and finish the day with the Hathorn house investigation, because it's the farthest away. And we have to talk to Jason about everything.
I was at what?
You know, maybe it's for the best that we don't get to meet Jason until the second half of the game, because Jason's just kind of terrible. Sorry, Jason. And now I have to talk to Tegan for a long conversation. She's going to mention the fact that ergot poisoning is a thing that caused mass hallucinations in Salem at the time of the witch trials. Is it just me, or is the background blurry next to Tegan?
Really?
Just to the left of her. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell if that's just low resolution or if it's just the game is blurry there. She just looks weird standing in that position with her arms being held out at her sides. And you'll notice Alicia stands at the exact same angle. And then so does Olivia, and so does, I think, one of the Hardy Boys. Just so many characters have the exact same animations in this game. Not a fan of that either. Okay, and now we get to call, I mean, you could call Damien. Doesn't matter if you call him now or if you call him later. Not a huge amount of difference.
I listened, honestly.
Long conversation, confirming his alibi, kind of. We're confirming Tegan's alibi. And we don't get to talk to him again. We don't get to follow up on it. It feels sort of like a drop plot point. It feels kind of unnecessary that that's the majority of this. The second day of the game is talking to everyone about their alibis. We did get that minor puzzle of examining, exploring the evidence room. And that is mainly a setup for the evidence room puzzle on the next day. And we do get a little bit of investigation here, but it is kind of disappointing. Now we need to skip that scene. So the investigation should be just 2 things, right? We grab the big obvious jacket there, and that's it. No, the other thing, I did this wrong though. You're not supposed to zoom in on that desk drawer. You're supposed to zoom in on the flower. Click on the flower there, and then you can zoom in on the drawer. Okay, you get this letter which talks about the will, which honestly should bring an end to all the legal drama, because now we've got proof that there's a will that exists and there's a location for the will. But nope, we can't pursue that angle. We can't pursue it. Now we're gonna go to Tegan's area. It's nighttime now. It's nighttime now. Tegan's gonna be crying over here.
So when I started working, Samuel,
and she talks about how she's basically, she really cares more about her own reputation more than like anything else. Where's May? I wonder. Where's Deirdre? I don't know. Who cares? This game doesn't care. Now we switch to the Hardy Boys, and you know what would have been cool? If the game just switched to the Hardy Boys without like a minute of conversation in between. That would have been cool. Like, make it like Creature of Kapu Cave or one of the other games. Actually, in Creature of Kapu Cave, they have longish conversations switching from Nancy to the Hardy Boys. That's probably not a good example. Alright, and then, like, this puzzle, not fun, ever. Oh, I wish there was a way to skip it. Definitely. Maybe somebody will find a way to skip this puzzle someday, and then we will all be the better for it. But hey, at least we get to solve puzzles for once. It's been a while since we solved the puzzle. I mean, I guess we did solve the puzzle of finding that piece of paper inside the house. You can call that a puzzle, sure, why not?
I've adjusted the
Alrighty. Navigation issues there. Oh well. And this is the third round of the puzzle. So yeah, is this going to be a super fast death percent run, speed run? No! No, it takes like a half hour. This is pretty fast. You could get a better time just by being better at clicking. Really, just click better. Yeah, have much better navigation. I messed up on navigation quite a bit. And solve this puzzle more quickly, because this is a random puzzle. How is that not good? How is that not a good solution? Oh my gosh, this game. Anyway, yeah, have better navigation. Here, it's like I got lost, trying to figure out where to go. Yeah. And then I finally figured out where I was going, and then I continued. It's kind of weird that Joe is Mr. Ghost Hunting Equipment in this game. Was he like that in any of the other games, or did they just make that up for this game, where Joe really, really, really believes in ghosts and everything? Like, let's see, last train to Blue Moon Canyon.
Looky here.
I think he did, like, think it was possible that Camille's ghost was there, but he wasn't all, like, big on ghost hunting equipment, because that was really John Gray, the actual ghost hunter with ghost hunting equipment. And he wasn't like the ghost hunter friend that we called in Ghost of Thornton Hall. So, just find a little weird Joe as Mr. Ghost Hunter in this game. Here's something cool. Like, we skip the minor navigation of going from the cemetery to Olivia's place. How did we get inside Olivia's place when it was locked at night? Did she not lock it this night? I don't know. I don't know. Is that why they skipped it? Is that why they skipped the scene of going inside Olivia's? Yeah. No, and they skipped the minor navigation of going from Olivia's to the graveyard. So if the game had done a bit more of that, like purposeful skipping of going from one place to another, would have been great. I would have liked that. Just save some navigation time. Just a little. So this puzzle is not very fun, and I wish there was like a way to really skip it. Like if we could type on our keyboard. Like, whoa, that would have been a great solution. Because moving your mouse, I mean, like, okay, get the cipher in place and then just type out the solution. That would have been good. It's also too long. It's way too long because we've got like these 5 things to do. Way too long. Why? Why did you do this to us, game? If we only had 3 things, that probably would have been best. Like, restock wands, grocery shopping, and then number 5. If this had been explained too, that would have been great. Like, we do meet Olivia. She's going to show up in a cutscene. But when the Hardys talk to her, they don't really talk to her. They don't get an explanation for, okay, why are you hiding stuff in this grave site? Hiding stuff in code on this grave site. Like, does she have a reason for doing that? Instead, they just confront her about the fact that she seems to be hiding stuff in the woods to make her ghost tours slightly scarier. I mean, I guess that's important because Nancy's thinking there is an actual ghost here, so we need to figure out who's behind the ghost haunting. But then, it's all irrelevant. This is all like a dead end. Because the truth is that somebody poisoned Lauren's water with ergot, and that's why everybody has everybody's been having hallucinations here. Okay, skip that cutscene where the ghost shows up and attacks the Hardys. We have this minor scene of the 3 of them showing up here. This conversation needs a rewrite. Yeah. Look at Olivia. Did you see Olivia just throw her arm through the middle of Joe's arm? Just passes right through Joe's body multiple times. Oh my gosh. I don't understand why there are conversations like that in the game. Getting back to the complaint that I was making. Where you only select one option. That was the case with the original trip with Deirdre in the car. Kind of the case here. Not so much, but it's like you get to pick from an option. Pick an option. What's Nancy going to say? Pick from the list. There's only one item on the list. And then you do that 3 times in a row. That was the case with that last conversation with Olivia. Why did they even bother giving you the option? Because there is no option. You pick option 1 of 1 3 times in a row. If it had been a conversation where it's like, okay, all 3 options are on screen at once, and you can pick the order of those 3 options, that would have made sense. That would have been okay. It would have been like kind of cheating because, you know, it makes you think that you have a choice of what option to pick when really you have to go through all 3 of them anyway. This is another case where you only have one option to pick twice. There are 2 times where you pick option number 1 of 1. And I do love that animation of Deirdre just moving her arms like, ah, angry, angry Deirdre, angry Deirdre. And then Dad's gonna call. This is random. I really feel like that should have been an optional phone call instead of a mandatory phone call. Why is it here at this particular part of the game? I don't know. I accidentally clicked on the item. You're not supposed to click on the item there. The important item is the one underneath it. So let me get to this. This is an actual puzzle, everyone. I actually solved this puzzle. It's like a glitch with this game, where like if you solve the CCTV puzzle, the game knows you've solved the CCTV puzzle. So I put in my USB here, put in the USB, I start the puzzle, and then I back away, and the game says, hey, you solved the puzzle already. Because I did. I solved the puzzle before I started the game. It doesn't matter. It's like, it doesn't matter that I solved the puzzle on a different save file. The game says, hey, you already solved it. Great, good, you're done. So that's a skip. That is the skip there. Probably one of the biggest skips of the game is you don't have to solve the CCTV puzzle if you've solved it on another save file. Oh, I wish we could use that skip with some of the other puzzles. So here we talk to her about the one thing, and that's it. And this is a bit of a time saver here on the on the 3rd day of the game. You don't have to talk to everyone about everything, so we don't really need to talk to Lauren about what she had to eat or drink. We only need to talk to Olivia about what she drank. I don't think we need to talk to her about what she eats. That was just something I figured out when replaying the game over and over. It's like you don't... I think your task list says you need to ask everybody what they ate and drank, but no, you only have to ask what they drank, and for whatever reason, Lauren is not one of those people that we need to ask. Alrighty. It does seem weird that you have to ask the Hardys, because that was part of the conversation at the breakfast table, as Joe specifically mentions what he had for lunch. Like, so we technically already know what he had to eat and drink yesterday. But we have to ask him anyway, because, you know, midnight in Salem. It's never going to skip a conversation if it has the chance. That is an awkward conversation where Deirdre is standing with her back to Lauren, but they are still talking to each other. You didn't really get a sense of that because I skipped through the conversation as quickly as possible. And here we get more conversations. The characters just talk. That was an example of you have 2 conversation options. You want to pick the second one because it's slightly faster. It doesn't really matter which one you pick. The same thing happens either way. Here we want to find May's phone, and then we want to leave. Deirdre's in the middle of having a hissy fit, so we have to get a ride from Jason into town. Couldn't we take, like, the Hardy Boys car? Well, no, because the Hardy Boys need to show up and help you out later. Okay. I like how that entire conversation happened in the middle of the loading screen. Because the loading screen takes too long. Did nobody notice that when they were playtesting the game? It's like, wait a minute, the conversation, maybe you should pause the conversation until the loading screen is finished. Alrighty, we're getting close to the end of the speed run here, I think. Yeah, we're getting close. A couple of minutes left. Hooray. So we talk to Jason about everything, get that big revelation, which feels like it could have been something which happened earlier in the game. I don't know. Just the big revelations here at the end. I get why they wanted to have big revelations at the end. I feel like they are thrown in mainly because they wanted to have big revelations, and not that it particularly makes sense for Tegan to confess that she's the arsonist at that point in time. Or it makes particular sense for Jason to confess he stole the evidence at that point in time. In fact, it doesn't make sense because it's like, well, now that we know Jason was the one who stole the evidence at the very start of the game and he was working for Alicia, it would make sense if we could confront Alicia. She's the culprit. We just figured it out, right? But no, we have to do all this instead, and whatever. Anyway, one of the things he confessed to, besides the fact that he was working with Alicia the culprit, is that these hidden tunnels exist. I really wish we had a big confrontation scene with May about the fact that she hid these tunnels from us, because this is where she was on the night of the murder. She was just hanging on night of the murder. On the night of the arson, she was hanging out here with Jason. She doesn't want anybody to know about it. And it's like, I feel like that is a terrible reason for her to keep everything a secret, you know, to make everybody think that she's an arsonist, to almost get arrested because she was hanging out in some tunnels with some guy. I don't think that was the best. I also don't like this, where we're in the middle of the puzzle, and then the Hardy Boys just stop to have a conversation, because it always makes me lose my place in the directions of how to get through this area. And then we have this puzzle. Simple enough. This is an interesting looking puzzle. This feels like it was a puzzle made to just to show off the new graphics system that they used here. And here we go, the first death scene of the game. What is the first death scene in Midnight in Salem? It's here, and it's practically at the end of the game. The next one is when the tunnels flood, so that's basically the puzzle scene after this. And then the puzzle scene after that is getting out of the room with an AW sign, and if you click the wrong AW sign, it's a game over. So the 3 death scenes of this game are pretty much at the very end of the game. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you had more fun watching it than I had making it. I could improve this speedrun and get a better time, but I did not have fun making the speedrun in the first place, so I will not be replaying the game to do a better speedrun.